Big show. So good morning.
Good morning, Gary. How are you doing?
You know what? How can people not like this is a morning and I know that the weather outside, it's moist. You ever been moist?
Uh,
Moist is moist.
this time of year.
It's like unbearable. Like
Yes.
yesterday, my house, the heat index was 120. If you're wondering, yes, I did turn on the air for the first time this summer. It's going to be even worse today. Storms rolled through overnight. People, like 5,000 people in Omaha, don't have power. But what today is, and what this week begins is the void in your life that when the Super Bowl ended and you were like, I like what happened with the Chiefs. You haven't had football. You weren't interested in spring football. You weren't interested in the UFL. But now this is camping season and it is football season. The Hall of Fame game is on Thursday. So we have made it. We have made it, everybody. We have made it to the start of football season. There will be football every week between now and the middle of February. But most importantly, there is football in Lincoln this morning.
Yes, fall camp.
Camp begins today for Nebraska, 1 month away from Nebraska-Cincinnati. 125 players, so all 125 on the roster that can go to camp. There's no more limitations on how many people you can have in camp. And Nebraska's roster currently is at 125 as they begin year number 3 under Matt Rule. Practice begins today. You saw some pictures of guys checking into Selleck. I think that's still all part of the buildup to this season is just give them a taste. Don't give them a whole meal in terms of hype videos or anything like that. So also today with practice starting in Lincoln, and it is half pads until Friday when the Big Ten Network is in town, and they put on the full pads, is the media at about right during the crossover. The media will get a chance to put their eyeballs on Nebraska football for the first time this fall. And we've done a really good job. I am so happy with my brothers and sisters that are in the media. We are not going to pull what is going on in the NFL with their training camps and all of a sudden start having stats. Now, the portion of practice that has been open to the media for a while now, there's really nothing that goes on. I mean, there's stations, but there's no 11 on 11, 7 on 7. You don't get to see that. You get to see the coaches interact a little bit, but there will be no stat keeping, or we have not had any just wild, shall I say, observations where you go over the top. So today, media will get to talk, or at least get to see the media, and then we will hear from the head coach after the first practice of this season. So it is here. You wake up with a renewed purpose today because football is back, and we will have plenty of football on the show. Coming up in about an hour, my good friend, Dari Nowa, who is the face and the voice of the SEC network, now dabbles like all of us. He missed his when they ended the Dari and Mel show on ESPN Radio on Saturdays. He was missing radio. He is back doing daily radio in Norman, Oklahoma. So Dari will join us coming up at 7 with some thoughts as we begin camping season all over college football. Also, Evan Bland will join us coming up at 8:30. That's the lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. All right. Now, the question, Jake, as football begins today is, because would you agree that we have like a little bit of I want to say rocky? Our relationship with college football as a fan and as a media is a little bit strained right now?
No, it definitely is. Has to be.
Because the storyline is the college football playoff. You're going to play 8 or 9 games. And then this weekend, I don't know if you noticed on your timeline, and I know this comes out of what the Big Ten did for 3 days in Vegas, is where they talked about the polls, along with many other things, is polls became a thing this weekend. We were debating the value of polls. Are they for the teams? Are they for history? Are they for the fans? Do they give you a wrong sense of what the season is going to be like? Should we do away with polls? All of a sudden, that became a thing. And all I could think of is the countdown clock is on into when there will actually be football. And we will talk about games a month from now and all of that other BS that college football has a tendency to really struggle with in the offseason. We're going to talk about football. But you would admit that our relationship is, you said that. Relationship is a little bit little sideways with the game of college football, what we do in the offseason.
No, definitely. It's just kind of a time where we really don't know what's going on. But I definitely with like polls, I think that's definitely more like fan service more than anything. Because I mean, do we really care about polls until? I mean, sometimes people bring it up after the season, but at the moment, just a little fun to do some
Well,
polls.
not so. So I don't want to poo-poo polls.
Yeah.
Because by the way, 9 Big Ten coaches will be voting in the coaches poll this year. That was quick. I think it was USA Today that reminded people while the coaches aren't big fans of the polls, 9 of them will be voting in the polls. I think they're for history. But if we didn't have numbers next to teams, how would ESPN promote Texas, Ohio State? And I say a little tongue in cheek because Texas, Ohio State would promote itself on its own. But the first time Nebraska is ranked this year, we will care about polls. How long do we care about the poll? And the most important poll doesn't come out until November.
We got to care about the AP and coaches poll from the time being until then.
Well, you'll take the AP poll when it comes out later in the month of August.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes out a week from Friday.
Oh, dang. It's already that.
You'll spend 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Spend 5 minutes on it. Check where your team is. And then you move on. But the relationship between the fans, the media, and college football, we're about into the season where we don't have all this talking season. We're for 8 months, 7.5 months. We don't do the sport very well. But for 4.5 months, we do the sport really, really well. So we'll get into a lot of football today, specifically Nebraska, things to look forward to, things to hear, things that may pique your interest over the next month before Nebraska plays. I said this, Jake, and you've heard me say this before when you were with us last week, and Matt and I were talking about the season and the hype. Today is a day to enjoy football without expectations. You can say, you know what? I'm glad that football is back. I'm glad that there is activity, there is discussion, there is content, and you don't have to apologize today. You don't have to say, I'm happy that football is back, and somebody goes, oh, I see you're drinking the Kool-Aid. No, today is the day to enjoy that football is back. There will be pictures of people in football activities. There will be people that you don't recognize, people you've never seen before, that will be out on the field of your favorite team, that will be going through football periods, and you don't have to go, oh, man, that looks like a 9-win team, and go, oh, yeah, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Today is a day to have joy without expectations.
Yes, it's a stress-free day. Don't have to worry about stuff too much yet.
But so part of what I was alluding to about less social media, I think the first year that Nebraska under Rule used Selleck Hall, and they were in it, the first year they were in it a little bit longer than they are now. I think they are just in Selleck for a week. But the first year when they checked in, it was different. So it was a big deal. And there were even people that were camped outside of Selleck that were Husker fans, either looking for autographs or taking pictures on their own. But there were like videos and, you got, as the time went along, you got behind the scenes stuff of the coaches and the players rooming together. Last year was a little bit more subdued. I don't recall it being a big deal. Like it was assumed that Nebraska was going to put their whole team in Selleck, but it was not like this big buildup like the year before. It actually, this year, you knew it was going to happen, but it was like an afterthought. Like, hey, they're going to be in Selleck. So with that said, what were there? 4 pictures? One of them's the quarterback who lived up to his Adidas NIL, was decked out in Adidas gear.
Yeah, I like the fit. It was nice.
Let's see. Deshaun McCullough was one of the pictures. But I think there were 4 pictures. There was 1 tweet. And I think that is all part of the plan in the offseason that Matt Rule and the football program, they've heard us.
No, I guess you're right on that. Because usually past years, it seems like it's been so much more social media. And this year's kind of been a little more, not as much, it seems like.
I think that is a orchestrated plan of, we're past all of the stuff of telling you what we do. And now the common goal is, how about win some football games? Okay. The common goal isn't, hey, let's see what we can do with the culture and let's build it up. And you know what? Let's feature this guy. Now the common goal is, how about we just win some football games? But I think, and I've I've noticed this really since winter conditioning began, because the more hype you give, people are going to get excited no matter what, because it's the season they live for, and that's what they do, and they want to be excited, and it's okay to be excited, and you're going to get hit with well, are you drinking the Kool-Aid? I believe that there is more hope than skepticism coming into this season, but the buildup and Nebraska wins the offseason championship banner, a lot of it is driven by the program itself that puts out hype videos or gives you a lot of content. And then you normally, like we all do, we overreact to that content. And all of a sudden, your expectations are through the roof. And then you just hit the ground. I think it has been we know what people are saying. And we also know that the only way we're going to be judged in 2025 is what we do on the football field. So we can't do anything for 8 months until we go to Arrowhead that's going to convince people we're a better football program. We can make hires. We can make adjustments. We can show some things, but not everything, and just go about our business. And then when we play the games, that's how people will judge us. So I think the silent plan to some, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think the silent plan for some of lack of content compared to previous years has built up more interest in this season. I use the word, I'm very intrigued. I'm very intrigued what I'm about to see a month from today.
I mean, no, definitely. I mean, the thing is, it just kind of seems like, with not as much social media, I think it's year 3 of Matt Rule. It's kind of time to show, let's start doing it on the field. I mean, you can do all the posts you want in the world, get fans hyped up, but now it's like, this is the year to, hey, show us what you can do on the field, not just what you can do on social media.
They're one of us.
Yeah.
They've heard us.
Exactly.
People just want us to win football games. If the program hasn't won, they're going to attempt to do something this year that just falls in line with the struggles of the last decade. Is they're going to try and do something this year that they have not done since 2016.
What is that?
Win 7 or more games.
Dang. It's still always crazy to think about since 2016.
Hold on, Jake. Say that out loud.
First time.
Say that out loud. I'm going to say that again.
Yeah.
This shows you the Sahara that Nebraska football has kind of been wandering through. That, again, I think there's more hope than skepticism in 2025. And there's a lot of different reasons, whether it be year 3, additions to the staff, additions on the field. You maybe go, well, it can't get any worse. But let me say this again, because your reaction perfectly sums up the last 9 years.
Yeah.
Nebraska, for the first time, when they begin camp at 8:30 this morning, I imagine that's kind of pretty cool. I imagine as a coach, I want to hear what coach was first into the building, couldn't sleep. If you're a new assistant coach or you're a new player, you couldn't sleep all night, you're in the facility already. Nebraska is going to attempt to do something that they have not done since 2016. Win 7 or more games.
I mean, I knew it was happening, but it's so crazy to think about, it's been that long since we've won that many games. It's just good old Nebraska. It's been a tough 9 years, but I got a good feeling, Gary.
Okay, so why do you feel this way?
Just because, I mean...
You can't say just because.
Not just because.
Just because.
Just because. No, I mean...
They can't be this bad for so long. They finally got a bowl victory.
I think I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on the year 3.
No.
What?
Don't say drink the Kool-Aid.
Okay.
Because...
Why can't I drink the Kool-Aid?
Because first of all, I hate that phrase. Okay.
We've been hearing it all the time.
There's a lot of people that drank Kool-Aid and they died. I'm just looking out for your
Thank you. I appreciate
health.
it, Gary.
No. So, okay, you can say that. And I'm not dogging on you, okay? I'm being a little sarcastic here.
No, you're good.
Okay. But if you're drinking the Kool-Aid, why are you drinking the Kool-Aid?
I mean, I think...
That's why I asked, why do you feel this way?
I mean, if we just go by everything that Matt Rule's been saying, I mean, the year 3 Matt Rule, I know it's something that we've probably brought up hundreds of times this offseason, but I definitely think that this is the time for Nebraska to finally make that next step. He's done it other places. If you look at like analytics from Matt Rule's career, this would be the year that they finally take that big first step. And I think they definitely could make that next step, hopefully 9 or 10 wins.
Whoa.
I know. Bit of a jump. I know it's over the over-under of their season total, but I think it could be it.
A 3 or 4 win jump. I'm just counting the regular season from last year, so I'm starting at 6.
Yeah, starting at 6.
That is, and I have it on the rundown. We'll get to it a little bit later about, but making a jump like that is pretty significant to go +3 or even +4. Now, last year, Indiana and Arizona State did a +7, but they were 3 and 9. I look at, if you're going to make a jump like that, what is the comparison? Because, Nebraska, fortunately, around here, hasn't had to go, well, you know what, that one year we had a +4 because the standard has been 9 wins across the board. Okay. And if you're a +4, that means you're probably a national champion. But that's a big jump. But I look at, if you're gonna, if we're following along with that kind of jump, and you're not alone, Jake. There's people that.
Well, there's some people that think we can be 11-1. Nebraska can be 11-1, and I think that's a bit more of a jump than I saw something on CBS, and I think they're talking about the highs and the lows, and that Nebraska's high is 11-1.
Yeah. No, I'm not poo-pooing. I'm just. There has to be some reality here about the season, how it unfolds. Because that's a gigantic jump. I mean, that is a big, big jump, still with a roster that 71% of them are underclassmen. And you have new faces in new places. You have new coaches. I mean, there's a lot of things to make that kind of jump. A lot of things have to come together. It could happen a little bit later if you're looking at the Indiana model. But I say look at and they were 5 and 7 in 23. Look at the Illinois model. So Illinois went from 5 wins to 9 wins, so that was a +4. They did it with a more difficult schedule last year. I mean, Illinois played Kansas when they were ranked early in the year, and then in the conference season, they had a flurry of teams that were ranked. I think last year Illinois ended up playing 6 ranked teams, if you include South Carolina in the bowl game, which they won, that they got to 10. And I'm on this for some reason, and I know they're trendy, and you're not supposed to do it, and you tiptoe through, well, can you trust Bielema? I like them. I like Illinois this year. I don't know if the league gets 4 playoff teams, but if there is a 4th, they would be in a good position to be that team, because there's a lot of their model that says get old, stay old, returning quarterback. You return most of your starters. You got a guy that's now going into year 5 as the head coach that knows how to win in the Big Ten. If that's the model you want to use, they were 5 and 7 in 23. Then they won 4 more games. And I think as trendy and as popular as a playoff discussion point that the Fighting Illini are, I think that's Nebraska next year. Even though Nebraska will lose some key guys just because their eligibility will end, I think Nebraska next year gets the trendy playoff team, veteran quarterback. But look at where they made the jump last year in Illinois, and maybe that applies to what's going on in Lincoln. But again, I go back to this about this season, and this season can't be a 6-6 season. It just cannot be a 6-6 season. If you found a way to go 6-6 against one of the easiest schedules that you've had in a long time, or currently in 2025 in college football at the Power 4 level, and you go 6-6, there is something that has happened, whether it be a major injury to QB1, major injury to running back 1, and the guys behind them are just not prepared. I don't know if this was my last go around and my whole season was going to be decimated by one injury. I would wonder what we're doing. 6-6 would be tough to come back from, but it's and I, would 7-5 pacify you? Would you be fine with 7-5?
I think 8 is the low that
Okay.
Husker fans will be happy with.
So I say feel mostly good 8-4. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'd be happy with 8-4. I mean, it's the most. I mean, if we're talking about the stats from earlier, having it gone over 7 wins since 2016. I think if you're a Husker fan, you have to be happy with 8-4. You can't be upset about that because they haven't been able to do it. It's still going to stink. We're probably going to lose a game. Nebraska's probably going
No,
to
no,
lose a
no,
game. That's
no,
going to
no,
be
no,
upset about. But
no. If Nebraska found a way at least to get to 8-4, and I believe they start the year with 6 wins, and they have to find a way to win 2 or 3 more, is there no apologies for 8-4. No being greedy. No, take 8-4 and go, you know what? First time since 2016, Nebraska football has won more than 7 games. Take it and run with it.
and the over and under in Vegas, it's 7.5, right?
7.5, and there is a lot of money on the over. And there's a lot of people that are inching towards the over, which the other side will say that makes me a little bit uneasy. That, everybody is on Nebraska to hit 8. I think they're going to come up short again and go with 7-5. The one thing I think will be eliminated this year, and partly because of the coaching staff, is I don't think Nebraska football will have the highs and the lows. I that they've ridden the roller coaster for a while. Of they get too high, they get too low. How do you? And this is still one of my biggest questions this year until they prove me wrong. Is how do you deal with success when all of a sudden you're playing well and everybody's talking about you, and you've won 3 in a row, or you're 4-0, you beat Michigan, and people are like, okay, now we have a bye week. People are going to talk about you. How do you handle that when that hasn't happened before? And also, when you have a roster that doesn't have an abundance of guys that have been involved in winning programs, whether they wear headsets or helmets. Now, there are a few, and they will rely on them, that either just join the program or have coached at places where you've had a high level of success. But how many guys currently in the program know how to win consistently, whether they're coaching or they're playing? And you don't know that until they break through, and then you start stacking stuff, and you go from 25 to 26, and all of a sudden it just builds and builds and builds. And you do what I think. Again, I'm on this Nebraska Illinois model. Now Nebraska would like, and people say, well, Nebraska wants to be up in the tier 1. I don't know if you looked at, Illinois would like to be in tier 1 as well. What they're doing with their football program, they missed out on Trey Taylor. They just got a 4-star quarterback for the class of 27. So they got their guy. He's a guy that I think can sustain. And that's what, when you get it, now can you sustain it? And this will be the year to get it. And then we'll turn around and look at next year as sustain it. But I think as things begin today, there are more of why they will be successful than why they won't. There's still an abundance of ifs out there and question marks, but I think there are more why they will be successful compared to why they won't. And we'll discuss all of that. Dari Nowa will join us coming up in about 25 minutes. Evan Bland will stop by at 8:30 against the first day of camp in Lincoln. Training camps are open. Hall of Fame game is on Thursday. There is football. Football is back every week until the middle of February. Prepare accordingly. Prepare people in your family that you are about to dive into football. And we will talk a lot of football today, among other things, and because every show in America will have to have a reaction to Happy Gilmore too. We will do that. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. Saw it yesterday.
And
Overhated.
did you say overhated?
Yes,
Okay.
it is overhated.
All right. You know what? Drunk, Fat, and Stupid. That's what we're going to do with that movie. We'll get into all of that as we roll till 10. It's Gary and Matt. Jake is in today for Jimmy. Matt is on vacation for the next week. And I'm just here. It's the Gary Sharp Show today on 1620 The Zone. All right, coming up top of the hour, Dari Nowa from the SEC Network. We'll talk some ball, y'all. The SEC Big Ten pissing contest, which will continue until we kick off a month from today. Welcome back in. It is Gary and Matt. Jake is in for Jimmy. Matt's on vacation for the next week, so you got me today. So we will have a full breakdown because you are required by Sports Talk Radio to break down Happy Gilmore. The discourse this weekend on social media was like if you liked it, people push back against it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like anytime I saw anyone on social media say like, it's not that bad, they'll go right after him because I think people just have so much love for the original.
The original, I was in college. Okay, I enjoyed the original. I didn't expect this one to be any better or to win an Academy Award. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to watch a stupid movie, and I got that with every friggin' cameo that you could imagine. But what do you think the reaction would be? And we're getting more of these straight to Netflix. Because Naked Gun, the reboot, comes out on Friday. That is into the movie theaters, right?
Yes, that will be in theaters.
So what if Happy Gilmore 2 had gone to the movie theater instead of straight to streaming? Do you think the reaction this weekend would have been different for the people like you and me that were like, you know what, it was a funny, dumb movie?
I mean, I think more people would actually be more upset about it. I think
if it was in a movie theater and it was like that.
I think if it was in a movie theater, just because yes, there is a lot of aspects of the film that I was like, I don't know, especially like the second half. Like I think the first half actually had a very good story. Second half kind of fell off, and it's definitely good more for like a Netflix film, I think. And if it was in theaters, I don't think it because people would have to actually spend like more money on it, get snacks, get all that instead of just their usual Netflix subscription. So I think in the theaters it'd be a little bit more upsetting, but I think as a Netflix film, it was something fun. I had a good time watching it.
I mean, Happy Gilmore will never be Caddyshack, which is the greatest golf movie of all time, which was released, I think, this past weekend about 45 years ago. The one thing that you will find if you've not watched it yet, and if you've not watched it, good luck because everybody's spoiling it, but there's really no plot. There's just a lot of plots that they tried to run through, and like the first half and the second half of the movie are completely different.
Exactly.
But it showed you that nostalgia is undefeated. Like we love nostalgia. Anything from our past, like the cameos and the references to the first movie, I got like very giddy about. I'm like, oh yeah. It became a cult following when it was released about 30 years ago. But anything with nostalgia nowadays, when you hear John Tesh and you hear the NBA on NBC music, and you're like, the days of the noon game at the Garden between the Knicks and the Heat and singing that song. And look at wrestling. So Hulk Hogan passes away last week, and we go down rabbit holes of watching Hogan and Rock, Hogan and Macho Man, all of these great matches that Hogan wrestled in. And because we like nostalgia, and we look at even the gear we buy. Would you be more likely to buy coach's gear? That is what the current coaches are wearing, or what T.O. wore back in the day.
Probably what T.O. wore back in the day.
Yeah, nostalgia is undefeated. And this is why if I'm a professional sports organization, and I think the big four and then like the next four professional sports organizations are doing a good job because they recognize content creators and they've got content creators of their own. But they don't give us enough of the old school. Like one thing wrestling is doing, and kudos to WWE's YouTube channel, is they are almost on a daily basis, they are uploading old wrestling matches. In a sport where, we all kind of got brought into the sport back in the day of, like Hogan. Before you were, when Dusty Rhodes and that crew, you were like, okay, I'm into wrestling. And then Hogan showed up and Hogan changed the way we look at wrestling. But WWE almost daily, and this wasn't just because of Hogan's passing, they upload old matches. And you ought to look, Jake, at the views on those old matches.
No, it's crazy. My dad loves watching the old matches all the time.
I would have if Major League Baseball, and I didn't look, so maybe they have, and if they have, this is great. I would have loved for them to put up like Ichiro's best game after his incredible speech yesterday at Cooperstown. If they would have thrown that up on a YouTube channel, on an MLB YouTube channel with nostalgia, hell yeah, I would have watched it. Hell yeah, after Dave Parker's passing, if they would have played the All-Star game from the Kingdome, which features his throw from right field, yeah, I'm watching that. But Happy Gilmore, too, reminded us, nostalgia, undefeated. It's not living in the 90s. It's just, we like the old school stuff.
Oh, definitely.
And they knew exactly who their audience was going to be. It was their audience, like myself, who was fat, drunk, and stupid at 21 that watched the movie. And I know that the characters are older. I'm older. I want to be drunk, fat, and stupid again watching this movie. And I got there.
Hey, and I think that's what it was aiming for, and I think that's what you needed. I mean, I definitely had so many laughs during the movie, so I was happy with it, and I love the original Happy Gilmore. One of the first ever movies my dad showed me was Happy Gilmore, and all the nostalgia, and I did like the references to other Adam Sandler movies as well.
Yes.
I'm kind of have a weird feeling this could be his last hurrah.
Like being in movies?
Like, I mean, I think he'll still be in some movies, but like one where like he's the main like person. It just kind of feels that way. He had his daughters in this movie.
Yeah, okay.
All these references. I'm kind of wondering. I mean, Adam's getting. I mean, I guess is he going to be? He's 58, I think. So I wonder if it's getting to that point where he's going to kind of take a back seat. And if this was his last one, I would say it was a fun time.
He doesn't really have any more. Like, okay, let's do a sequel to a previous one. Like, they're not going to do a sequel to Click.
No,
I don't think. And there is nobody clamoring for a sequel to that movie. The other thing that people are going to see, because he also kind of makes you. I don't think you can watch if you're a fan, you can't watch it one time because there are so many cameos. Sometimes the cameos overshadowed the plot or whatever the plot was going to be.
Yep.
Now they did take a crack at Liv, subtly, which was really, really good. And that's one of the plot lines. But there were so many cameos that you have to go back because you missed them. But one of the best cameos, and I love you're mentioning references to past movies. They also have a lot of references to Happy Gilmore 1. Love that Vern Lindquist was back. Is there anything that Scotty Scheffler doesn't do well?
Oh, Scotty was great.
I think Scotty Scheffler, if we did a power rating of the best performances in Happy Gilmore 2, Scotty Scheffler is in the top 3. Is there anything that the guy does not do well? He is great with the driver. He's great with a flat stick. He is great in acknowledging that, yes, that was him that farted at the Open last week. Let's see. He is a felon who beat a rap. All right. And he also in this movie is really good. There's nothing that Scotty Scheffler can't do, but he's definitely one. So I don't think Adam Sandler was very good in this movie, but he was, of course, Happy Gilmore. I don't know. I think he got into it and he's like, I don't need to be the main character. That was my observation.
I mean, I still feel like, he still was the main character, but I mean, he did take a backseat to kind of show off other people's stories a bit.
You get like John Daly shine.
Yeah.
John Daly was great in this movie. And then all of Sandler's friends that show up, like John Lovitz, But if you've not seen it, you're not really going to be spoiled. Like, you're not going to I'm not consuming any media. I'm not listening to the radio or anything else because I don't want to have spoilers on Happy Gilmore. Trust me, there are no spoilers, but we'll discuss a little bit later. This became like a fight this weekend. We needed football in the worst way, is we were fighting over Happy Gilmore. There's two people in this world today. There are people that liked Happy Gilmore, and there are people that absolutely hated Happy Gilmore. And it has become a fight.
It has. A lot over social media. It's
like comical. Of like, how did we get to this point? What did you expect when you walked in? Did you expect like something that was going to compete for an Academy Award? It's Happy Gilmore 2. Have you not seen Happy Gilmore 1? Happy Gilmore 1 did not win an award. And also, if you don't like, if you think Adam Sandler's shtick is old, you're like, this will not change your opinion. You're like, yeah, Uncut Gems, I thought he was okay in that. All that other stuff, this movie will not change your opinion at all.
I mean, it's always going to be classic Adam Sandler yelling, being loud, beating some people up. You're always going to get that in some Sandler movies.
Chris writes into the Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking personally. Good morning, old man Doug. Two fine locations. You can email us, Gary at 1620thezone.com. He said, I would be freaking pissed if I had actually spent money to go see that in a theater. I mean, it was a garbage show, but since it was free, I watched it, and I'm like, whatever. If you did go to a theater, well, if you were going to a theater, you would go because you already liked Adam Sandler, okay, and you liked Happy Gilmore 1, and you're going to watch it, okay, because there's been such a buildup for it, and you got all these different cameos, and so you're going to go. But if you might also say, okay, I kind of I'm iffy. I'll wait till it comes out on stream. Yeah, people that the reaction of it being on Netflix where you could sit on your couch and watch it instead of going to a theater where you were, laying it out earlier, you'd have to, it's not just the movie ticket, it's popcorn, drink, the hassle of parking wherever you might go to watch the movie. So we'll discuss this and much more when our next guest, who has seen Happy Gilmore, Dari Nowa, joins us from the SEC Network and his new radio show in Norman, Oklahoma, lighting fires, kicking tires, and making sure that everybody knows what Lincoln Riley did on his way out of Norman. Feinbaum was on a show last week and just went. So we'll talk to D coming up here in just a moment. A little bit later, Evan Bland will join us. It's the start of camp in Lincoln. There will be media eyeballs on camp later this morning, kind of around the time of the crossover. So you will see reaction. One of the first reactions would be, guys look faster. I'll tell you one guy in particular that has increased his 40 time, almost jaw-dropping, from February to last week when they were timed before they broke summer conditioning to get ready for camp. We'll do all that as we roll till 10. It's Gary and Matt. Jake is in for Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, a month from today, Nebraska and Cincinnati at Arrowhead. The whole zone will be there. Shows, pregame, postgame, big overreaction will originate from Arrowhead Stadium. Coming up a month from today, camp begins in Lincoln today. Camp is beginning all around college football. So it seems like a good time to bring in our good friend, your good friend, the face, the voice of the SEC Network, and now one of us with a daily show, which can be heard 9 to noon on KREF in Norman. Dari Nowa. Good morning, brother man.
What is up, Sharpie? How are you, dude? Good to talk to you.
Good. I was just thinking about this this morning. We during our longtime friendship, we haven't done this very often, where we've been on each other's shows. We do more of our we do more of our shows like in conversation on text or phone calls. So this is good.
This is great, and I'm gonna find a time to return the favor and have you on my show. So this is great, man. It's good to talk to you any way I can. You know, the once a year trip to Omaha is not enough, so we got to make sure that we communicate.
All right, Happy Gilmore 2, yay, nay?
Yay. I mean, you know, I was listening to you. You're right. Like, what did you expect? I was. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a top 10 movie. I wouldn't even say it's a top 10 golf movie, but it's Adam Sandler being Adam Sandler. The cameos were incredible. I don't know another movie where you get that many people from one community that are well known to act or try to act, and it was hilarious. And I thought John Daly saved it. I was thoroughly enthralled with John Daly throughout that entire movie. It actually, I had lower expectations than it actually turned out to be. I was cool with it.
See, I think that was the right way to approach it. If you had lower expectations, you're like, you know what? I was satisfied.
Yeah. I mean, what did we think we were signing up for when we hit play on the little remote control?
Well, but you know what it's like, because you'll talk about it on your show today. Is people are like, I think people wanted to be blown away. I just said I had no expectations.
First of all, how many sequels are better than the original? There's not many. You had 30 years or whatever separating the two. Like, I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand expectations of grandeur from anybody who looked at it on their screen. If you're not paying a dime to watch it, you don't have to go to the theater, as you talked about, that headache. Like, if it was going to be an Academy Award nominated movie, it wouldn't be available with a push of a button for free. Like, it just wouldn't.
Yes. Good point. Before we dive into some stuff, for people that heard me mention, you used to do a show with Mel Kiper, a hugely popular show for a long time on ESPN Radio on Saturday mornings. And then you and Mel got busy and are doing something else. But now you're back doing daily radio. So you're like one of us. How is the show going in Norman, which is about a month old?
I'm loving it, man. I'm having so much fun. It was funny, Sharpie, because, you know, one of their radio hosts was leaving after 20 some odd years, Toby Rowland, the voice of the Sooners, to become the sports director at Channel 9 in Oklahoma City. And he hit me up with a text and says, "Hey man, have you ever thought about doing local radio?" And then a period, and then it said in Oklahoma, ? And I read that. Have you ever thought about doing local radio? And honestly, no, I had not. No offense, it had never crossed my mind. And then I saw the in Oklahoma part. I'm like, wait a minute. So I could do it talking about my alma mater, my sports passions, throw in some Thunder. Oh, by the way, they're pretty good and should be for a while. And then like bring a lot more SEC talk in than they currently have. Yeah, okay, it made sense. And so it took a month for ESPN to say, yeah, no, this is cool. Go ahead and do it, because they had other things on their desk. It was right in the middle of the draft, actually, that we asked for permission. And then when it came about, I was like, yeah, no, this will be fun. And it's been great, man. I've had a blast doing it. I mean, I look forward to every show. You know, we're doing a lot more SEC than just OU, but obviously OU drives the bus. But then I'm using contacts that I've made in over 2 decades at ESPN. Yeah. So I'm bringing in guests that wouldn't typically do local radio in that market. So, you know, while it's based in Norman, their signal strength isn't huge. They're really driven by their app, the KREF app.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you guys have the app, they've got an app, and that's where most of the listeners are.
Dari Nowa from the SEC Network joining us. All right, let's get into it because you were in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. From your vantage point, what's the SEC Big Ten relationship like right now? Greg Sankey, Tony Petitti.
Let me speak. You've met Greg Sankey with, I've known him for a long time. Greg Sankey has zero issue with Tony Petitti. He likes Tony Petitti. He told me, we don't see eye to eye on everything, but I think it's a pretty good working relationship when we see eye to eye on 80 to 85% of things.
Mm-hmm.
There is no hard feelings with him. Now, again, you know him. I know him. Greg Sankey and the SEC are not going to be bullied by anybody. So if the Big Ten is sitting there saying, we're not giving up on our automatic qualifier position, 4-4, 2-2, whatever, unless you guys go to 9 games, Greg Sankey has made the point that we're cool staying where we are, man. We don't feel like we got to change.
Mm-hmm.
We're cool where we are right now. So if that's cool with you, then we'll just keep doing that. I don't know if Tony Petitti's got a better way to make his case or make his point, but the other thing, I believe this, and Greg has not told me this, Sharpie, is, the SEC likes the 5+11. Why does it like 5+11? Because they don't want to limit themselves potentially to 4 teams in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
If they feel they could get 5 or 6 out of 16. The Big Ten, at least from where I sit, looks like it's saying we want to make sure we can get 4 teams in the playoff. So they're trying to play up a little bit to get to 4 because you have 3 really high quality teams, and then you're struggling to find that 4th. And the SEC typically, in a 16-team playoff last year could have had 5 in. So you're sitting there saying, why limit ourselves? As opposed to, we want to make sure we have 4. And I think that's the difference of opinion. But in the end, he's not going to be forced. They're not going to be forced into anything by anything that Tony Petitti or anybody else says. And that's just their mindset, and they're cool with that. Sooner
or later or not at all that the SEC goes to 9 conference games?
Sooner. It will happen. I have no doubt it'll happen. They've made it pretty clear, and he's made it pretty clear, Sankey, that he'd prefer 9. I think there's a few coaches that don't want 9, but it's amazing, man, how every single vote, every single thing that's voted on in the SEC ends up unanimous. Somehow that happens. It's incredible. But, there's a reason that they haven't announced any plans for scheduling for 26 or beyond. I think that if they can be satisfied that the College Football Playoff Committee will look heavily at strength of schedule, and they can be convinced that adding a 9th conference game, the loss won't kill teams, and the wins and that strength of schedule will help everybody in the league more than it would ever hurt anybody in the league,
mm-hmm.
they'll go to 9. And I expect that to be the situation. And if I were to bet on it, I think we'll be at 9 in this league in 26. But it's absolutely going to happen.
Hey, we saw what Texas did to the old Big 12. So now they're going into year 2 in the SEC, and they could be preseason number 1. Of course, they have Arch Manning. How much of a pain in the butt for the Georgias and the Alabamas is Texas going to become?
Oh, a legit one. I mean, Georgia can still say we went 2-0 against Texas last year, but I think everybody realizes Texas is here and really, really talented. And even if you're not a complete Arch Manning buyer, I think you look at their schedule in the league. Obviously, they're going to Columbus, which is huge, but their schedule in the league is manageable by SEC standards. A defense that could be the best in America, with 2 legitimate stars, 2 rushing the passer, a running back room that could be as good as anybody's, and a wide receiver room that could be as good as anybody's. So do they plug the holes on the offensive line? That's their biggest question. And is Arch, and how good is Arch? I think people think he's good. Is he going to be great? Well, let's wait and see. But there aren't a lot of holes on that team, even though there are a lot of departures. So, yeah, they're a problem, and I think everybody recognizes it. So, and by the way, Sark is a superstar. He's one of my favorite people in this league, and I think everybody knows that he is building something that's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Is he a bigger star than Lane Kiffin?
I think Sark is a bigger star in terms of his ability to win championships. Like I think people generally see him as a better coach and a better program builder. Lane is good at all of it, and he's an intriguing personality. But if you were going to hire one of those guys for your program, Sharpie, I would ask you, which one would you hire?
Yeah, I that's until Lane wins games that matter and doesn't drop games that you go, what the heck? Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Get to Atlanta. That would be a start, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's go, because you'll talk about them today, because when you do a show in Norman, just like when you do a show in Omaha, you talk a lot about the local team, and both the local teams have gone through it a bit. But we're going to pay a lot of attention, like you will, week 2. Michigan comes to Norman. Walk me through what's going on at Oklahoma and what this season looks like.
Well, there is so much optimism, man. There really is. Like I know there is there. There's so much optimism, because I think if we look at it and we say that was a really good defense a year ago, and yes, they lost Billy Bowman and Danny Stutzman, and you're not going to underestimate those losses by any stretch. Brent Venables now taking firm control of the defense, handing the offense over, becoming the defensive play caller, I think is only a positive. That's what he's best at. They have brought in pieces and parts and did a really good job over the last couple of years on that side of establishing a lot of depth. I think their linebacker crew is going to be really good. I think their defensive front could be as good as anybody in America, certainly the best in the SEC, and there's a lot of experience on the back end. So we don't worry about the defense, typically. Offensively, it was one of the worst in the history of that university last year, and they still managed to find their way to 6 wins. They still managed to go to a bowl game. And now you hire a much respected offensive mind, albeit a 29-year-old one in Ben Arbuckle, who brings a quarterback with him that he's been with him now for 3 years in John Mateer, who has done nothing but become a more physically imposing player since arriving in Norman. Can run, can throw, can lead a football team. Doesn't always want to be considered the next Baker Mayfield, understandably so, but it's in this, like, it is indescribable how similar they are in so many ways, on and off the field. A running back that had 1,300 yards 2 years ago before he dealt with some injuries at Cal. A game changer who's also added 10 pounds to his frame since arriving in Norman, who Jim Nagy, the GM, told me the other day, he's as good a game breaker as this program has had at running back since potentially Adrian Peterson. A wide receiver room that is better just by addition and health standards, and has more size and speed in an offense that is designed to get them open, which last year's was not. And an offensive line that might have only played 2 games together last year, but has been in the program now for a couple of years, adding a couple of new faces to it, 2 major freshman additions, including Michael Fasusi, who is a 5-star guy who might be starting at left tackle in game 2 or 3 this season. There's a lot of optimism. I think a lot of reason for that. I think there are people that think this team could win 9 or 10 games and be a playoff team, and I tend to agree with it, despite a nasty schedule.
How many national championship contenders, like legit national championship contenders, are there in the SEC to break the 2-year drought?
I think Texas, Georgia, Bama, LSU are all legit national title contenders. So I'll say 4.
Hey, let's jump outside of the SEC here as Dari Nowa is joining us. Last couple of minutes. You know him pretty well for his time at the SEC in Brett Bielema. He came back to a place that he was comfortable with, in a league that he was comfortable with, and now they're a trendy, could be legit playoff team. What's your thoughts on why he's so much different than he was, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years ago?
I think he's really, really comfortable up there. And I think that he's got a group of guys that are there to be. The SEC, man, the SEC is tough. Like, the SEC is just, I think you're constantly on guard about what other people and other coaches and the media are saying about you and your program. I think that very few people come into this league and become truly, truly comfortable in it. I think Arkansas is a very difficult place to win in a league where it's very, very difficult to go from the bottom up. I'm not saying the Big Ten is a lot easier, But I certainly think that, again, the Big Ten is a great league, but it's more top heavy and less deep, I think, when you get into the middle to bottom tiers than the SEC is. And I don't know if Big Teners would disagree with that. That's just my opinion. So I think he comes into a place where naturally there's less attention on him. There's less feeling like he can't be himself. There's less people to criticize every single move he makes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a part of the country that he always loved and has had success in. He never had success in the SEC. He had great success in the Big Ten at Wisconsin. So I just think that, Brett's not a guy that's ever going to worry about criticism necessarily, but he's going to thrive where he's comfortable. And I just think it's a place that is like home to him, and I love it for him.
Hey, before I ask you about Nebraska, a question from a listener who pays attention to Oklahoma football. How healthy is Oklahoma's NIL? Because that's something you hear about. They lose out on certain prospects because they can't afford them.
Well, it's healthy enough to win. I'll say that. It's probably not Texas, Georgia, Ohio State. I don't know where they are in relation to Nebraska, which I know has gotten a lot better. It's certainly healthy enough to win. And the NIL is not what's going to hold them back. Now, the addition of Jim Nagy as their, GM and their lead scout and all of that, and then the people that he's hired is significant. Like they're going to get some 5-stars, but they are not going to outbid anybody for those 5-stars. And so you let Jim cook, right? You let Jim work. And that's why he was hired to do is go find some diamonds in the rough, but also get a few 4 and 5s that can accentuate what he wants to accentuate, that fit the way they need to fit. So NIL is never going to be an excuse for OU not winning championships. They wouldn't make it one, and I wouldn't make it one.
We'll get chatter on this. So for people that don't know the entire history of Dari Nowa, he is a KLKN alum as a sports guy and a wife who she's a Husker fan. She's a Midwestern gal. She's a Husker fan. So you still follow the program. We talk about it a lot. You also hear SEC people mention Nebraska. What's your thoughts from afar of looking at this Nebraska team in year 3 of Matt Rule?
I want them to win, man. You know me. I root for Nebraska too. So I want them to get this. I want them to win. I look forward to, the OU transfer to Deshaun McCullough. I look forward to watching that superstar quarterback, right? Rayola in year number 2. I want to see Dylan thrive. I want to see skill position players on the outside like we haven't seen in far too long. I want to see them win. I want to see them be a playoff team, or at least in that conversation in mid-November. And based upon the roster, look, I like Penn State. I like Ohio State. I like Oregon. I like all those teams. I look at Nebraska and Illinois personally from my seat and say one of those could be that 4th team. And maybe a 4th team is able to get into the playoff in the Big Ten. Maybe that's one of those teams. That's where I see them, and I certainly hope they're there.
Hey, fantastic stuff, my friend. Thank you for your time. Have a great show today, and back to work on the SEC Network.
You got it, brother, man. Good to talk to you as always, man.
Good to talk to you as well. It's Dari Nowa from the SEC Network. Also, Dari is now doing local radio in Norman on KREF. He's on from 9 to noon. Great show. Feinbaum pops in and just blows up Lincoln Riley, and people in Norman go crazy. That's just throwing some chum in the water. Those people they hate Lincoln Riley. Interesting because about Oklahoma and the Oklahoma-Michigan game, week 2 is a huge game for both programs. One, Bryce Underwood's first road game. Sharon Moore has already won in the shoe. He's now back at his alma mater. Final game before he steps aside to serve the suspension. People are still wondering about Michigan. Then Oklahoma. That's their first marquee game. Oklahoma's schedule is brutal in the SEC. If you look at their last 7 games, that is a monstrous game. But I did find it interesting, and I was agreeing with a lot of stuff Dari was saying about this current OU team. Matt Hayes, I think Matt is either at Action Network or he's still at the Sporting News, has Oklahoma winning the SEC.
Dang, that's a big jump from last season. But
that's who they'd have to overcome. I think that's a big reach.
Yes.
But they will be typical OU on defense. It's the whole offense. Venables made some poor hires with his OC when he took over at OU. And, a defensive guy, that the defense is going to be good. And now he's back, he's taken over the defense. You can judge a coach on hey, if you're a defensive guy, what's your offense look like? It's kind of like the both thing around here. Can you make the right hire on offense and get out the way? Let them go get the quarterback. Let them go get the guys for that system. It appears that with John Mateer, they finally have the right guy. That Mateer will be better than Arnold, who transferred to Auburn, who was supposed to be the guy. Oklahoma is a very interesting team because I think you could make a case that OU could surprise some people and get to 8 or not win 6. And all of a sudden, you're like, what's going on here? And you got a new athletic director that's going to be rolling in after Joe Castiglione retires. All right, we'll take a quick break, come back. We'll get some emails and some tweets. You're always welcome to join the show on the Prairie Flower Zone Casino Hotline, 402-951-1620. First day of camp in Lincoln, a month from today. We will be, I believe this show will be live at the 1620 The Zone House in Kansas City. All of the shows on Thursday and I think on Friday will be from Kansas City. Of course, we'll be at the Blur tailgate party doing a 3-hour pregame show. And then we'll have Big Red Overreaction from Arrowhead Stadium 1 month from today. There's Jake in for Jimmy. Matt's on vacation this week. I'm Gary. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Moose Roofing is the place for you. All right, we had wind roll into town early this morning. Some people still don't have power in Omaha. And you know what? If the wind or recent storms that brought hail have done damage on your roof and you're wondering, got to get ahead of it because what happens the next time? This is the opportunity to take care of that with Moose Roofing. They are the experts, the MVPs in roofing in Omaha. And they're here to take care of your most valuable asset, your home. They're here before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm. They are local. And I know you think, contractor, man, I got to deal with that hassle. Not with Moose Roofing. Them being local and the reputation they have, they've been in business for nearly 30 years. It's the right choice when you've had hail damage. When all of a sudden you think, is my attic leaking? Best way to find out, schedule an inspection today. Go to the website, mooseroofing.com. Guys like Robert, they'll be quick to respond. Communication is the most important thing, among others, that Pat Moose instills in his employees. Work through, get the results you want for the customer. And they're available for any concerns that you have after they follow up. From top to bottom, thorough in everything they do, Moose Roofing. So if you need your roof looked at, residential, commercial, roof repair, or service, Moose Roofing is the only place to go. Look them up online today at mooseroofing.com. All right, good Monday morning. Welcome in. It is the last week in July. It is camp season. Fall camp opens up in Lincoln. They start practicing in about an hour. There is eyeballs from the media on practice. Also today is Big Ten Media Day for volleyball in Chicago. So there will be the champs are here. Will be in Chicago, but football today begins camp later this morning. Media will be able to observe practice, and the headman will talk afterwards. All 125 on the roster can go to camp for year 3 of Matt Rule. It is also this week. It is trade deadline coming up on Thursday. Let the rumors flow. Let everybody in baseball think they have a chance at Suarez from the Diamondbacks. The Phillies are the latest this morning. One quick thing here before we get to Random Mike on the Prairie Flower Zone Casino Hotline. Late last night, Seth Lugo, who has been a prime trade candidate for a lot of teams that need a starting pitcher, and this is the first time that I can recall that in the middle of the season, a contract extension happened. Like you'd been working on a contract, didn't get it done, and then in the middle of the season, it happens. And Seth Lugo last night finalized a very team-friendly 2-year, $46 million extension with the Royals. So he is off the board for anybody that needs starting pitching, and Seth Lugo is going to stay in Kansas City, who, sub-3 ERA in his 52 starts as a Royal, as part of a pitching staff this year where their starters have been decimated by injuries, with Bubic going on the IL after his performance in the second game of the doubleheader on Saturday. So Lugo is staying a Royal. He will not be a Cub. That's okay. We've moved on to Mackenzie Gore. We've moved on to Milwaukee. And tonight we get Boyd and the Miz in Milwaukee. We'll speak of that a little bit later. But here is Random Mike. Happy camping season.
Hey, I really enjoyed the interview with Dory. He's
Thank
always
you.
been a favorite of mine. I'm sorry that his show on ESPN isn't on anymore.
Well, it was I think it was an ESPN choice.
Yeah, and I knew he was kind of a Husker fan, but I guess he really is one.
Yeah, I mean, I try and keep him above board, Mike. He always asks. He's got his wife's side of the family are all Nebraska fans, so he has to keep up on Nebraska.
And he worked in Nebraska at one time?
Yeah, so that's where him and I originally met. He worked at KLKN, which is the ABC affiliate in Lincoln.
Okay.
So he was in the sports office with the late Matt Kelly when I was living in Lincoln. Wow. So that's how our friendship began.
Hey, what's the latest on Ryan Sandberg? Have you heard?
No. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to mention that last week. So cancer is back. I just wondered last weekend when the Cubs were home, Ryan Dempster and John Lester both were wearing Sandberg jerseys. And then I don't know if you heard Jed Hoyer was on the marquee.
I did.
Yeah, he was on the marquee broadcast, and he brought up Rhino, and it didn't sound super promising, but I haven't heard anything this week.
Right. Hey, here's a little random trivia for you.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Sandberg turned down Barry Switzer, Tom Osborne, and Don James for scholarship offers to play football. Did you know that?
I remember that. You know who told that story? I believe it was John Stockton. I heard first tell that story because he knew him growing up because they were from the same part of the country. But yeah, Rhino was an incredible football player.
Right, and a parade All-American quarterback. And had he come to Nebraska, would he have been the first parade All-American quarterback they got?
Possibly.
We haven't had a lot of them.
No, but look he made the wise decision, just like Joe Mauer. I mean, Joe Mauer had so many accolades playing football at Creighton-Durham High and St. Paul. He was going to go to Florida State and play quarterback for Bobby Bowden. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's fascinating. Hey, a lot of Cub fans and Husker men around here, and this could be the fall to remember, Gary. I'm just and just what Dory was saying, the possibilities, and having really good coordinators, that is huge. And at Oklahoma, they're dealing with that. And I think our special teams coordinator. How many games have we lost for special teams seriously in these last number of years? I mean, it's big.
Yeah, too many to count. But isn't it interesting? And the thing about Mike Eckler, because you would say, well, he's a +2. He's got a lot of questions in his room of special teams. Like he's got, Archie Wilson appears to be the guy at punter, but still Archie Wilson has never punted here. He's got 3 kickers. What does he do with them? Is one the place kicker? Is one the kickoff specialist? And is Tristan Alvano an odd man out? People forget about Tristan Alvano. I know that he isn't going to just walk away. And then we don't necessarily know who exactly is going to be the return guys. I will say the thing about Eckler, and this is where you're right about the coordinator hires, like grizzled veterans that give you a sense of stability, that it's not going to ride the highs and lows because they've proven in the past that they are pretty good at their job. And John Butler is still a little bit of an unknown, but he's got Rule and Phil Snow with him, who I think the value of Phil Snow is enormous. But look at Mike Eckler. He's got those questions, Mike, and people are like, don't worry about it. Mike's got it taken care of. He will make playing on special teams cool again.
And you know what? In the glory days, special teams was never an issue.
No, because the head guy saw the purpose of special teams and the value of special teams. And I think Rule left too much to Ed Foley. And it was too much for Ed Foley to handle. And it started to snowball. And then it became, well, I'm loyal to my guy. I'm not going to let the general public dictate what I'm going to do. And then it was enough is enough. You're costing yourselves games, and you're costing yourselves possibly your job because you can't fix the third phase of football.
Yeah, and you mentioned Butler and the defense. Totally agree. And I happen to like Butler a lot. And I remember Bill Walsh years ago saying the biggest thing he looked for in an assistant was how smart they were. And what you hear about Butler, and just why he's here. I mean, he left a great job where he did a great job because he was getting older and he thought, I deserve better. This is the time to do it. And he came down here to do it. Hey, I just have a feeling this thing is going to work out really well. And with all the coordinators and the help on defense, and, Rule has great confidence in the defense. And, I'm a Ty Robinson guy and the polar bear. And to me, those are enormous losses. So it's going to take, they seem to be confident that they can overcome it.
What if Riley Van Poppel was better by the end of the year than Ty Robinson? Will that shock you?
Yeah, because I like the guy a lot, believe me. But Ty Robinson was big. And look what we did to Ohio State and Iowa. And we should have won both those games fairly comfortably. Ohio State was the best team in the country, and we should have beat them.
Mm-hmm. Now, we'll talk about the defensive line a little bit later, because I think right now it's a great unknown in terms of depth and guys that have played frontline snaps that are now going to have to play more than they've ever played. It could possibly be a weakness, but by the end of the year, be not a weakness, if you get where I'm going. Because I think there's some young guys. I think there's some young guys that are not being mentioned, that as the season goes along, I think that room will get better, because I think you have a lot of the hesitancy is the two guys that you mentioned, and you've got a brand new position coach, that is coaching that. And he hasn't been a frontline position coach. He wasn't the defensive line coach for the Chiefs, even though he was heavily involved. I think by the end of the year, we won't really worry about the defensive line. And there will be some guys that, like a Jalen George or Leftuo, who will start playing a little bit more and will add valuable backup. But it's also a position early in the year, Mike, that they can't afford an injury. They can't have Van Poppel go down. They can't even have a rotational guy like Elijah Judy go down, or, let alone a Lenhart or, a Keona Davis along those lines.
Yeah, you got to feel really, really good about the coordinators. And I think we know at this point, Rule needs a good coordinator.
Yes, he does. I think it'll him being an overseer will help him. But still, the question will be out there, and Mike, thanks for the phone call, is, what about Saturday when it's nut cutting time and you got to make a decision? You got situational football, and it is, do we take a timeout? What do we do here? Because his game management has come back to bite Nebraska in some key situations. Will that be better because he kind of is a overseer? And Phil Snow. Phil Snow has an important role on this staff. He didn't just come out of retirement to hang out. I think they rely on him heavily. I'll tell you, the position I would love to be playing, Jake, defensive back. Nebraska's got an abundance of defensive backs. They've got some guys that have played a lot of football at Nebraska, and then they've got guys that haven't played very much, but they are high on, whether their last name is Sanders, whether their last name is Benning. But then they've got the guys on the top end that are a little bit longer in the tooth, like a Singleton and a Buford and a Hartzog. But you essentially have 3 coaches that are coaching you at defensive backs. You have your own position coach, who is new to the program. You have Phil Snow, and then you have John Butler, who was coaching you last year, that now is in charge of the defense, but knows your strengths and weaknesses more than any other position group. So if you go back to spring, there would be days that you would see those 3 guys working with the defensive backs. And I think that's an area where they will be good if the cornerbacks can play man-to-man coverage and match up like that. I mean, now you're cooking with some peanut oil, because that allows you to do some other things. Also stay healthy, where a Hartzog is not a yo-yo, and all of a sudden you got him playing cornerback, which you should not be playing cornerback. So I think on defense, there's going to be questions in certain position groups that they will get better as the season goes along. Where on the other side, offensive line, which any program out there that has high expectations this year, they probably point to their offensive line. That's our reason for optimism. Yeah, we got a returning quarterback, but our offensive line is set, and we like our offensive line. I think Nebraska's offensive line will be good from the jump. Last year was one of the rare years of late where they got better as the season went along. I think they'll be good from the jump. I don't think it'll be, and then I hope they make progress as the season goes along, that you settle into 5+1 or 5+2 that play on that offensive line. But I don't worry. I don't probably worry as much about the defensive line. They still have to prove it. And I think Rule, his comments last week were, okay, we know what the narrative is. There's 2 guys that are in NFL training camps right now. You guys are going to take a step back. Well, Riley Van Poppel probably would have been a number 1 if they would not have decided to hold him back as a redshirt and limit his snaps last year. Keona Davis came back for a reason. Cam Lenhart, can you capture what he showed you in 23? Last year he was kind of absent. I don't know what happened there. Elijah Judy. If you get Elijah Judy of what he did against Iowa, and you get that for 25 to 30 snaps a game, I mean, you'll take that. But again, I think the defensive line will start a little bit as a question mark, but it will not be a question mark when the season is over.
So you're kind of thinking it's kind of how last season was with the offensive line, where at the start, a little shaky, got better through the season, and then we're going with the defensive line here. Obviously, you just said losing 2 players to NFL training camps, that it could start, not like rough, but start a little bit not as good, and then proceed the season. They'll end up getting better.
I hope the offensive line makes the defensive line better.
Well, yeah, definitely. Because I think the offensive line should take definitely a jump this year. It seems like we haven't had a great offensive line in Nebraska since I don't know how long. Seems like it's been a while, Gary.
Well, I mean, they still have to be proven run blockers.
Yep.
That'll be a question. But I like that when camp starts today, I know who 4 starters are. And the 5th guy hasn't played a lot of football. That's 34 snaps. How big is the lead to be the starting tackle in Kanak over Gatula, who would flip sides and probably would be a starter if he had not missed spring and was coming back. But now he's healthy. Evan Bland's going to join us in less than an hour. We'll get his thoughts from many of these. When we come back, speaking of Mike Eckler, it is wild. I know there's pressure on the head man because you got to make it pop this year. But think about whether it's perceived pressure or not. on a special teams coach that because you got Mike Eckler, you got +2 in the win column. Think about that. I mean, he's good at that. He's really, really good at his craft. But we'll talk about special teams when we come back. There's Jake in for Jimmy. Matt's on vacation this week. I'm Gary. Gary and Matt. Evan Bland from the World Herald coming up at 8:30. If you missed our chat with Dari Nowa that Random Mike was alluding to, it is up on the replay page on 1620thezone.com. Imagine not having a car that has AC.
In this weather, that's not good at all.
I don't hear many people these days say they have a car that doesn't have AC. When I was growing up, there were a lot of cars that didn't have air conditioning. And so your air conditioning was 4 windows down. It's going to be another miserable day. It looks like it's a miserable day across the country. I got up to 100 in Tampa yesterday. They've never had 100 degrees in Tampa. Think about the swamp ass. You got the humidity in Florida in the summer, and then it gets up to 100. It was like that here yesterday. Heat indexes were like 120, and it's going to be another brutal day before we get a little bit of relief. So prepare accordingly for everybody that is working outside. Man, we feel for you. And if you were working outside, probably saw you. Jake and I saw you when we were driving in this morning because you started early. I heard in my neighborhood, not a homeowner, but a lawnscaping service. They were mowing lawns at 5:40. And in this, most times you'd be like, "Get off my lawn, guy!" Like literally, be like, "You know what? It's way too early."
That early, yeah, would be.
But for people to have to start working early because by the middle of the day, it's just going to be oppressive and it's not worth it. Shout out to all of you, men and women, our postal carriers, mailman Todd, mail lady Lisa, everybody else, Jed. Good luck out there today because it's going to be another brutal day. Imagine if this was back in the old days and this was pads and it was 2-a-days.
Ooh.
When it seemed like when you were playing football. I don't know if you played football in high school.
I played in high school.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you guys have 2-a-days or was that?
Yeah, we did have 2 days, especially in the summer a lot.
But
2 days.
But 2-a-days were never when it was like 80 degrees. 2-a-days were always in the 90s or the feel like temperature was in the hundreds. Can you imagine having back in the day when they used to have 2-a-days and this was your practice day?
Ooh. Gotta have the electrolytes up during the day.
You would be at Urbandale High School practicing at 5 a.m. and then you would practice like at 7 o'clock at night.
I don't miss those days because we did these things called gassers, ran back and forth on the field, and my coaches did have us do it in like the 90-degree weather. It was only like when it got to 100, that's when we were like, okay, we'll keep it easy.
Well, and programs now, even if that coach is somebody that just says run, 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 there is more oversight in smartness in dealing with temperature because of whether it be local or national. And God dang it, because we are in a football season, there are some states that are beginning high school football practice today, and you are hearing tragedies. There are more things in place that limit you from practicing outside. I mean, there's also smarter people. I mean, they just are. But today's going to be another brutal day outside. If you do not have AC in your car, just don't drive. That's what they have Ubers for. I want to give a shout out. Thank you to Craig, by the way. Nebraska Gold Softball, 16U and 18U. They had 2 top 5 finishes in a national tournament in California. This is a regular tournament that has 75 to 80 of the top teams from around the country. And we all know that softball in this state just continues to grow, and it's now getting the attention. It's been good for a long time, but as the borders have expanded and more travel teams or club teams are playing in national tournaments and doing very, very well, people recognize the immense talent that 16 and 18-year-olds high school softball has in the state. So congratulations to Nebraska Gold, which has been a long time juggernaut in that circle, going out to California, where a lot of the best, some of the best young freshmen that you'll see playing college softball are in that tournament.
Definitely shout out to have and something to put on for the Nebraska state. We love to see that, especially out of Nebraska, a state like California.
All right, when we come back, let's talk about Mike Eckler, but let's also talk another area where talk about coaches that now it's go time. Is this the year that E.J. Barthel? There's no, I think he's going to leave Stony Brook. We're going to push him to Stony Brook, or Texas might be interested. He's got a new contract and a very interesting running back room that if Nebraska can't afford an injury to QB1, can't afford an injury to RB1, right? We'll talk some special teams and some running back on the opening day of camp in Lincoln, which is 30 minutes away from video being shared of guys running around with helmets on. Media gets to look at practice a little bit later, and hopefully some guys that were on the shelf that maybe we saw during the summer, like a Malcolm Simpson, will be full go. Won't see him in a sling. He'll be out there running around with the defensive linemen. That's coming up after the break. Evan Bland will join us coming up at 8:30 from the World Herald here on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Jake, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm not a big fan of cold. I like the heat.
For a second, I thought you were going to say you're not a big fan of Queen.
I'm a fan of Queen.
I was playing Another One Bites the Dust,
no.
and I was like, I was about to go after
No.
Gary.
You're a big Queen fan?
I am a big Queen fan. Love them.
How did you become a big Queen fan? Now you have me.
Oh, my dad. My dad showed me so much rock music growing up. I think my first ever band that I truly loved was the Beastie Boys. Have License to Ill on vinyl, and then kind of showed me other stuff. Yeah, great album, and I love them. Brass Monkey was definitely like the song that I listened to all the time.
You ever seen him in concert?
I've not ever seen him in concert. Unfortunately not. But yeah, I didn't know what Brass Monkey was about at the time, but that was the song that I played all the time when I was 5, 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting song to play at that age. I don't even remember what I was playing. Hell, I don't remember what I had for dinner on Saturday, let alone what I was playing for music when I was 5 and 6 years old.
Oh, I remember. Like music
Elvis was dead. Elvis was dead, people. All right, Evan Bland of the World Herald is going to join us here in just a moment. But I don't mind the heat.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday it was a little bit toasty. I have turned my air conditioning on. Yesterday was the first day.
First day of the AC on for you?
Yeah, I'm not a bit.
Oh, dang.
I don't mind the heat.
I respect you for that, Gary.
One of the things I do when I go on the road to a hotel during the winter is I crank that baby up to 85. But I found out that if you stay at a Marriott has capped the heater in the room at 82. But any other hotel that has a little push on the wall thermostat where you can push, what temp you want, it'll go to 85. Now, it doesn't go above 85. Marriott's, though, they knew I'm coming, so they cap it at 82. But I like to sleep when it's very, very warm. So I don't have a problem with the ceiling fan and the blinds and controlling the temp in my place when it gets like this. I don't have a problem sleeping. I don't sweat, so I don't mind the heat.
Okay.
But I turned the air on yesterday because I think I was guilted into it, and I thought 74 was cold.
Me and you are very different with this, Gary. I like to be cold when I'm sleeping. Hot, like
I know there are studies out there that say that I am on Revis Island, okay, and that I am an idiot, and this is not good for my health. But I can't sleep cold.
Well, I can't call you an idiot. It's what you're comfortable with.
Even when it's 85 in the hotel room and it's the middle of the winter and you're in Waterloo, Iowa, hell yeah, I got the covers on. It's all about comfort.
Yep.
But a couple of people have asked, got your AC on? Yes, I did turn on the AC, but I can't wait to turn it off maybe tomorrow morning.
I mean, it's going to be better. What? I think it's going to be 80 tomorrow?
I saw somewhere, midweek, it's going to be the 80s. Look at us complaining. Yeah. That's what we do in the Midwest. It used to be like this all the time, Jake. Jake, when we were younger, it used to be, you know what? They'd be talking about when it reached 100, you'd be like excited. Yeah, we made 100. But it's going to be another warm one out there. Nebraska camp has begun almost on the pristine fields outside of Memorial Stadium. Nebraska practices at 8:30. There's a couple of things interesting with practice and media availability this week in Lincoln. So originally, they were going to start practice this morning at 8:30. It's the first practice of the year. It could be kind of helter-skelter, where you stretch, how you stretch, what you do, where to go, all of those things. A lot of moving parts. The media were going to be able to watch practice right at the beginning. Now they switched it. The media will be able to watch practice at the end today, which is completely different. There are fewer times nowadays where media can watch practice. Still blows me away that when Mike Riley was in Corvallis, he invited the whole community to come out to practice. They could bring lawn chairs and they would sit on the sidelines. It was a real thing. It was extremely popular with the older set. I don't know how much of the younger set went and took in a practice every day, but like a lot of the basketball practices at Creighton and Omaha are open all the time. People, not everybody can wander in, but people will come in and watch, and they've been, a little bit of the Silver Sluggers have been going to those practices forever. But yeah, at Oregon State, because you just gave me a quizzitive look, Mike Riley, all of his practices were open.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Spring,
Especially,
fall, in season, his practices were open, and people in the community he would encourage to come and watch practice. Now, once in a while, they would say if they moved indoors or they were in their stadium, I guess then it was not available and they were doing stuff that they didn't want people to see. But when he got here, true story, because he wanted people to get to know his program, he approached his athletic director and said, "Hey, in Corvallis, I wanted everybody to come out to practice." And he goes, "Would you find it, is this something we could do here that I could just invite fans to come out to the practice field?" And I, of course, reportedly, told from somebody that was told to me in this meeting, like, was just stunned. They're like, "You don't understand. You don't understand. If you opened up practices to every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Lucy to come, it would be overwhelming and you wouldn't get anything done. And that's not what you want." And so then, Riley said, "Well, I want people to come see us practice. I want not only recruits, but I want fans and I want media to come see us practice." So as time has gone on, there have been fewer availability to watch practice. But I thought it was interesting that they switched that media today can watch at the end of practice. Because that's not the case in the, I think there's 3 times plus Saturday night that media will be able to watch practice. It usually is at the beginning. So you're not really doing a ton at the beginning. You're doing a lot of station work. And usually it coincides when you start to stretch. You do all your station work right away, and then you start to stretch, and then the media are out, and then you go to work and you do all the things you don't want other people to see. But also this week, and this is also something that's changed a bit, is the Big Ten Network will begin their bus tour in Lincoln. I don't believe that they have ever started in Lincoln. Maybe at times Nebraska's been the second or third stop. Sometimes you get lucky, and the way the schedule works out with teams that begin camp earlier, you end up being the middle one, and so there's a little bit more comparison. I don't know if you watched it last year, Jake. It seemed like Nebraska was, unlike the first year with Jeff Sims, Nebraska last year, they were pretty scripted on what they showed the Big Ten Network. Like they didn't go into a full-blown practice. Like they just, I wouldn't say scripted, but they controlled what was viewed by the Big Ten Network, people that were here from Dave to Howard to Jerry. And so there weren't as many like just tweet. They're here on Friday. It's their first stop. I'll be curious to see what it looks like, because that'll also be the first day that Nebraska is in pads, and how much is discussed, because Jerry loves to compare. Jerry likes to look at teams and go, well, you know what? We were just at Minnesota, and they, and Jerry is Jerry when it comes to observing Nebraska on the BTN tour. You'll say, well, Nebraska doesn't look as deep and doesn't look as nasty in the trenches as Minnesota. They have no comparison. So they're here on Friday. But this end of practice today. Well, Evan Bland's going to join us here in a little bit. Yeah. And I like that. I don't think that's going to be something that's happened. Maybe it's just a first day thing.
So when you say with like end of practice, like how long of the practice is the media really going to be able to see there? Like when do they get to show up? Do they see an hour practice, a half hour practice?
So 9:50 for about 15 minutes today.
Okay, 15 minutes.
Now, if you're doing the script for practice and you say we start at 8:30 and we're doing bang, 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 and you know at 9:50 that they're going to let the horde of media in to watch practice, you could get to a point where at 9:50 you're just doing stuff for the cameras.
Yes.
Like, you know what? You're feeding them B-roll. You know what they want to see. They want to see the quarterback throwing Dane Key. They want to see some of the younger guys. They want to see, guys that look different. And you go, oh man, that'd be the first guy off the bus. I don't know. That was just, I'll pick Evan's brain. I don't know if it was a logistic thing or what, but they moved it to the end of practice. So Evan will join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. One thing as Nebraska begins camp, teams that are playing week 0, whether it be KU, K-State, Iowa State, have already begun practice. This is brought up. I feel like I have to do this every year at the beginning of fall camp. Why is college football I think the only sport that does not have exhibitions.
Yeah, that is true. There isn't, because you see them in every other sport except
There,
really football.
there are no exhibitions. There are no joint practices during the fall like NFL training camps. In college basketball, the exhibition games are almost overtaking some good non-conference games. I mean, this upcoming fall, I mean, look Creighton, for example. They're playing Iowa State. Now, granted, they're going to be in a tournament with Iowa State in a couple of months or a couple of weeks afterwards. But I think Connecticut and Michigan State are playing an exhibition. BYU, which BYU will have potentially the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft, BYU is playing an exhibition game in Lincoln against Nebraska in late October. So in college basketball, the exhibition is overtaking some good non-conference games. For example, Omaha and Drake would be a nice home and home. Well, it's going to turn into an exhibition game instead of something during the regular season. College baseball, you can play, like Nebraska could play somebody in the fall and treat it as an exhibition. Now, it would take away from one of your 56 in the spring. All the other sports have exhibition games. In college football, we do not have exhibition games in the fall or even in the spring, which that was a hot topic for a week or 2 or 3. And then we were on to the next thing that plagues college football. But wouldn't it be nice to have a college football exhibition for the fans' perspective?
I think you have to have it in the spring, though. I don't think you can have one like just a few weeks before the season, just for the risk of any injury or anything like that going in. I know we do preseasons with NFL, but the players that are starters that are going to play, they maybe play a snap. I mean, or a series or 2. But I just feel like it'd be really hard for college. I mean, it would be awesome. They probably would do it for a charity event, but I just think they would have to do it in the spring if they want to kind of show off those players, just for that main risk of injury is my main priority.
What if I said to you, because I don't think it's fair to fans that they have to pay for the Houston Christian game. I just don't. And remember, the calendar in college football is going to change. I love what Dan Lanning said last week. We already know the NFL is they would like to play 18 games. They're not adding on the back end. They're going to add on the front end, so they take advantage of the holiday weekend to kick off their season. We already see week 0. There are more teams that are entertaining playing week 0. Is the college football calendar, because Dan Lanning, and he had a really, really good point. He would like the college football season to end on January 1.
I mean, that's pretty much how it was back in the 80s, 90s, right?
Yeah. Have it end January 1. But then the calendar shifts all over the place, because then Black Friday, Thanksgiving weekend, which you already have rivalry games, that would have to be moved up a week. The Black Friday would be the championship weekend, which actually would be kind of intriguing. Thanksgiving football, and it's your championship games. Then you would have the following week, would Army-Navy move up? You know, Army-Navy is right there on the second weekend and Saturday, the same weekend as the Heisman Trophy. Would you have to adjust that? When would the playoffs start? You know, and he went into this, and he had it laid out, and he had it laid out because his team had a month off after they played in Indy before they played in the Rose Bowl. Now, would that have made a huge difference? Ohio State was cooking that day. But everybody that had layoffs got beat. And so instead of having a month layoff, wouldn't you rather have a 2-week layoff where you finish your championship games and you go into the college football playoff? Lanning laid it out. It kind of makes sense, but TV and money makes you say that's not going to happen. But he's also looking at the month of January. If you just have one portal window, we're not playing, we can focus on that. But the schedule on the front end, if you want to keep 2 bye weeks and treat it like the NFL doesn't, the number 1 seed in the NFL doesn't take a month off before they play. They have a couple of weeks off. And maybe they have an additional week because week 17 doesn't matter to them. So the college football calendar is going to move up. I mean, the beauty of college football when it comes to campuses is it kind of coincides with the start of school. Like the start of school in Lincoln is the first week of the game, which a month from today, which is wild that people are already going back to school. So are we going to inch towards years down the road? We're sitting here on July 28th and we go, you know what? We're about 2 weeks from the start of the season. But this is why I say exhibition games. If the Houston Christian game was an exhibition game, would you react differently?
I mean, not in a sense of like the game being played, because like Nebraska should blow out Houston Christian no matter what. So it's gonna be.
I'm thinking, think with your fan hat on.
Well, are you saying like to replace it with a
no
different game of the season?
So I'm not a huge fan of fans paying for FCS games.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I don't care if you reduce it and you're like, get in, get out. We're playing this game at 11. I don't think that's fair to the fans. But what if that was an exhibition game? Now you would find a replacement, probably a MAC school, to take the place of week 3. But you would still play Houston Christian and they'd get a little bit of money, but it would be treated as an exhibition game.
That is very interesting. I think I would be fine if it was viewed like as an exhibition game.
Because college football is the only one that doesn't have exhibitions.
So just something to get the cobwebs out a little bit, have that feeling of being in a game. I do think it would be something very good for the fans, and I think it would be good for the players in the sense that kind of get the rust off a little bit, get back in a game environment, seeing all the fans in the crowd, just being ready for the season.
You know this, as college football has changed, and I think Bill Connolly brought this up on his podcast, is there are more unknowns about teams in college football this year than ever because of the rosters. You had upheaval. North Carolina's got 70 new players. Makes what Deion did at Colorado. And we'll find out today if Deion's going to continue at Colorado. I mean, like, no one brings up that Belichick has 70 new guys. We all brought up what Deion did. Belichick's boring. Deion's got some sizzle. But don't you think that instead of your first game, and we're lucky enough that there's some really good first week matchups, you don't know a lot about your team? You don't think Belichick coming from the NFL wouldn't like one exhibition game just to see guys in action so their first game they play is not the opening game of the season?
No, I do think it would be better if college football did move more to that format for exactly that. 70 players, you don't exactly know how they're going to be on the field. It's so different from practice to game. You always hear like, welcome to NFL moments, welcome to NBA moments and stuff like that, where the speed of the game is way different than how it is in practice. And I think it would be good just to know, like, okay, who's going to be the guy that's going to step up in these situations.
I know Division II during the spring, because UNK, they went somewhere and they played an exhibition game. So they allowed Division II to play during the spring. Now, if that became a deeper discussion, I would like that in the spring, where maybe Nebraska and Iowa State play. They're not going to play. They're not on the schedule, but Nebraska and Iowa State play. But we're seeing it drift further away from spring having, this is what the spring having meaning. Okay, just get in, get out. Matt writes in, exhibition games and practices. The best part growing up is when the Bears had training camp, and usually I don't know why, but the Cleveland Browns would come to Platteville, Wisconsin to practice with the Bears. I'd love to. You don't think Dan Jackson would be like fired up to bring South Dakota State, put them on the bus, travel down Interstate 29, come into Lincoln, and work out with Nebraska an 11-on-11 day? Now, I don't know if it'd be open to the public, but it would benefit probably both teams. If you're not going to give me an exhibition game, why not allow to have open practices?
No, that is definitely a good shout on that, because it'd just be good for both programs, kind of seeing something different, not going against the same guys in practice over and over again, just seeing different new stuff. I think it would be good, especially for the whole practice situation, seeing another team.
Ken says this would be a great idea because then we could scout South Dakota State's roster. for future portal movement. John says college football doesn't have exhibition games because college football coaches are the most paranoid people in the world. They are scared of showing plays or formations, injury, and most of all, losing. Imagine if NFL media covered a open practice for college football. We've got lost in the sauce when it comes to NFL and training camp and keeping stats and like people overreacting. I was joking earlier, Matt back home in Chicago, Caleb Williams has apparently struggled in their red zone stuff with Ben Johnson. And all the practices, in training camp, for the most part, are open to the media every single day. And so the media sees that. They see the quarterback of the Bears get pulled, have a discussion with his head coach, and all of a sudden it blows up and people are like, oh, we're done. You imagine if the NFL media, the way they cover, some of them cover NFL training camps, if they were allowed to cover open practices in college football, what would that be like?
Well, do you think it'd be too much on the college kids for how the media portrays a lot of people in the NFL? Or are you kind of on the side of like, they got to be ready for that? That's going to happen at some point.
We've already gone through that. A.J. Allen. We had our
Yeah.
A.J. Allen moment in the first spring that Matt Rule was here. There was video of a drill. Next thing you know, parents are on the phone with the head coach and he has no idea what they're talking about. No, that would be bad. that would be, and then also, but then it would completely shut down any access whatsoever.
I guess I didn't realize, like, you're dealing with parents calling the coach. You don't really deal with that in the NFL that often.
No, you'd be dealing with like the girlfriend or the wife.
Yeah.
All right, Evan Bland's going to join us here in a little bit. I mentioned we'll talk about Mike Eckler. We will when you return. It's Gary and Matt. Jake is in for Jimmy. Matt's on vacation. Caleb Henry. Never done a show with Caleb. Big fan. First time co-host. He'll be in tomorrow. A little bit later, Mike Schaefer will join us on the show on the week to just wreck everything. All right, we're back with more after this on 1620 The Zone. right, you want to have a good day. Do not discuss politics, religion, or if you liked Happy Gilmore or not. And you'll have a good day. There are two types of people this morning, people that liked Happy Gilmore, people that did not like Happy Gilmore. But the discourse is quite interesting. Now we are attacking people that thought it was stupid. And we are attacking people that thought it was fun. It was exactly what it was supposed to be. Were you not supposed to laugh? What were you expecting?
Hey, you're not going to get an Oscar-winning film right here with Happy Gilmore too.
It was stupid. It made me laugh, okay? Was it at parts too long? Yes. The cameos were fantastic.
Oh,
do I think there'll be a Happy Gilmore 3? No. I think we're good. I think we're good on that.
I mean, do we really want any more sequels of any other Adam Sandler films?
No, not Adam Sandler. Think about this. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
This might be, we might have to percolate this for Caleb when he joins us tomorrow. Any sports movies that are clamoring for a sequel?
Ooh, I don't know. Well, no, I was about to say like White Man Can't Jump, but they kind of had one and it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
That wasn't very good.
That was considered a reboot.
What about like Remember the Titans? Like another like good story kind of set in today with that. I think that one could be good because that's a movie that was beloved by a lot of people.
Do we need a Major League 4?
Hey, we could.
All right. Evan Bland of the World Health is going to join us here in a little bit. One interesting aspect of the season, again, Nebraska is about to start practice. The 2025 season is here. This is either a sign that he is really, really good at his craft, which he is, or, which also this is true, the past 2 years, Nebraska fans were conned. This might surprise people. People might disagree with me. That's okay. This is a talk show. Nebraska football fans are smarter than you think. Do not chuckle. They are. And you cannot con them. And I think Nebraska fans for the last 2 years, when it comes to special teams, felt like they were getting conned. Said, what is this? Past history, special teams have not been a point of excellence. We kind of got spoiled with special teams under Coach Osborne, even under Frank. We got really spoiled. And then there were bouts with Bo where Bo got deeper into special teams where you would have certain units that were pretty good. But of late, it has been an area that has been kind of, I wouldn't say forgotten, but it has not been stressed or it has not been held accountable. And we've been conned for the last couple of years about, it's not, hey, not all Ed Foley's fault. Well, at some point, you're like, you know what? I can see through this. Stop lying to us. And maybe public pressure says he's a gots-to-go situation. Or maybe it's just the nuts and bolts of we are costing ourselves. And they make a change in the offseason. Mike Eckler has not put foot on the field in a game to coach special teams at Nebraska in 2025. And I say, kind of tongue-in-cheek, about the pressure that he has because special teams can't be worse.
It's been terrible.
Can't be worse.
So long.
Whether it be bad snaps, whether it be the wrong personnel on the field, not selecting the right personnel, not having good IQ when you step out of bounds when you field a kickoff, or going through the roulette of what are we going to do with our place kicker? I have never really encountered this with a position coach or a coordinator, and that's what Eckler is you don't even hesitate and you say, he's worth 2 wins. And it's true. If Nebraska is better, and they have to be better, will they make the jump from the numbers of last year to where Eckler had Tennessee? Maybe. Maybe in coverage and return, that definitely can happen. And so there's some hidden yardage that can be taken care of. But I've never seen a coordinator that hasn't coached yet that you're expecting magic. And he's got some serious questions. Now, he's got energy through the roof. I bet he did not sleep last night. Okay? I bet Mike Eckler did not sleep at all. I bet Mike Eckler slept in his office. I bet Mike Eckler, because special teams get going a little bit before the rest of the team, I bet Mike Eckler has been on the field since 4. I bet Mike Eckler had the grounds crew turn on the lights, okay, and already start playing the music. And he might have been out there by himself doing drills, but he's making it cool to play on special teams. I think that's another aspect, along with the specialists that they've acquired or have already on campus, is he is going to make it cool to play special teams. The one thing you hear from the old heads about playing special teams under Coach Osborne is not only they had some gifted guys. I'm not saying like they had bums off the street and they were literally the 12th men that they selected out of the stands and they were the special team. They recruited with a special teams eye. Like when Nebraska was pursuing Marshall from Idaho, the fact that he excelled in the return game helped. If you look at some of the recent recruits, and I'll use Caleb Benning as an example, and I don't know that Caleb, Lob was a great returner for Westside. I don't know that he has done a lot of practice reps in the return game, but there are more guys that are being recruited that also have a special teams background. So Eckler will make being part of special teams cool. I haven't heard that in a long time because a lot of guys, they did the lip service. Okay, this was a Frost thing. That was just BS lip service. Is the quickest way to get on the field is you got to be on special teams. Well, it didn't take very long before you violated that. Okay? If you're good on special teams, you got a chance to play your position group, and that's the first way you get on the field. All right, that didn't happen very often. And we give lip service to special teams. Now we finally have some backing where you hire a guy, and I think players, whether they're young or older, will want to be on special teams because it's cool. And with a limited roster, I think more guys are going to have to play different roles. Maybe they're on one special team. Maybe they're on 4 special teams. But the power of Eckler, which is crazy, and you don't hire a guy like this if you don't think this is going to be your bounce. Jake, don't they have a lot of questions on special teams?
Oh, way too many. I mean, it's been... When's the last time you think Nebraska's had a good special teams unit that you could say you're proud of?
Across the board?
Yeah, across the board. Was it the 2016 Mike Riley year? I guess already 2015.
That would be under consideration.
Yeah.
Bo had a couple of years, but look at you brought in a place kicker. You had 2 on campus. You had Hole and Alvano, and I don't think Tristan's just going to walk away. Okay, he should never have kicked last year. That was a mistake. I was expecting last year kind of like the Drew Brown. Drew Brown struggled as a freshman, but then the rest of his career took off. That's kind of how I saw Tristan. I don't know how much they were working with him during his yips in the freshman year. Like, okay, you're not good from this hash mark. You're better from this hash mark. Let's set him up to have success. But you also got, you had some important missed kicks. So he's still here. John Hole, who kind of saved Nebraska at the tail end of last year when he became the full-time kicker. He settled in, and once the snap got correct, Hole looked pretty good. I mean, look at the Ohio State game. You're like, all right.
He's making 40-yarders.
So he's still here. So you don't know who is going to be kicking. And they may have, Hole may end up being the place kicker, and Cunanan may be the kickoff guy. Then what happens to Alvano? We think the Durango is going to be the punter. Okay? We think Archie Wilson is going to beat out Cook. We didn't see during the spring, and really it wasn't, I guess, asked or brought up, what's the return game going to look like? But there's some intriguing prospects, whether they be Ja'Cory Barney, whether they be, Marshall, for example. But there's a lot of question marks on the special teams, but we don't bat an eye. We're like, oh, Eckler's got it taken care of. Very rare that you've seen that at Nebraska. But in a position, in a group where if special teams is just even remotely better, and again, it can't be worse. It can't be worse. If we don't mention, I hope we mention Kevin Galick's name once or twice here in the fall camp. And if we don't mention his name the rest of the year, that's a good thing. Did you know who Marco Ortiz was?
Nope.
2 years ago, Marco Ortiz was the long snapper, transfer from Florida. We didn't even talk about him. We talked about him when he was gone. I guess that's a good thing, that hey, we miss you. Can you find some eligibility and come back? But they have question marks, but we don't even bat an eye. Don't even bat an eye.
I know. Crazy.
It'll be a +2 in the win column because Eckler's got it.
Hey, I'm hoping.
All right, Evan Bland's going to join us next. We'll pose a lot of those questions, position battles that are going on. We'll get into the running back position because can Nebraska develop a real running back that is not a converted wide receiver that may play the Tavon Austin role on this year's roster? Evan joins us next on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, day one of camp in Lincoln. Football is here. Hall of Fame game in Canton coming up between the Lions and the Chargers on Thursday. Somebody will get to put some eyeballs on practice. Later this morning is Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald, back from Vegas. Good morning.
Morning, Gary.
Hey, people are wondering because as you and I were communicating yesterday, and it was supposed to be at the beginning of practice. Now it's at the end of practice. Do you think that Matt Rule is throwing the media a bone, and you might see some 11 on 11 or 7 on 7 today?
It's possible. I mean, you never know. I probably. I'm sure it's a logistical matter of convenience for how that thing shook out. I mean, obviously they're not in full pads yet anyway, but it'll be good. It's like the first week to me, especially a day like today, is about seeing how guys are looking. Who put on some obvious physical gains, who's moving around well, who's no longer wearing a yellow jersey, stuff like that. And then, I think next week is really when you start to get into, okay, who's making a move in fall camp, who's showing out, what freshman's looking good, what transfer maybe took a step from the spring, that sort of thing. So I would just imagine today is going to be about getting back into the swing of things. And I anticipate the whole team moving into the dorm thing probably won't be much of a storyline this year, but we'll talk about that a little bit. And then away they go. It's kind of an extension, I think, of media days a little bit. A lot of talk about the season and what you're hoping to get done in the next month and that sort of thing. So it's unofficial. It's just sort of another unofficial start of football season, right? Like we had it last week, and we're going to have it again today.
Hey, last week, what was the vibe like? Like from your standpoint of having to cover the event to your colleagues on the 3 days that were in Vegas?
Well, the location I thought was just fascinating. Like you're in Mandalay Bay and you go up 2 long escalator rides to the 3rd floor, and it's really kind of the first sign that there's anything like Big Ten Media Days going on. And you walk down kind of a main hallway in this big ballroom area, convention center, and you've got a room to the side for CBS, and you've got a room to the side for NBC and for ESPN, and like it was just kind of a reminder of how far the Big Ten's come. It has so many television partners. It's such a big league now, coast to coast. And I didn't mind the setup. I mean, I think we talked a couple weeks ago. I like the Indianapolis setup fine. I like being on the field, and you get the rubber pellets in your shoes a little bit when you're walking around and doing the interviews and things. It's the site of the championship game, so like it all made sense. I thought this was fine too, though. I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask. I mean, PJ Fleck loved it, Brett Bielema loved it, Matt Rule, he wasn't such a big fan of this thing being in Vegas. So it kind of depends. But I thought the setup was fine. I kind of felt like maybe the media turnout in general was, I don't know, 10, 15% less than it would have been in Indianapolis, just in terms of a lot of the smaller outlets maybe not being able to drive, or outlets not sending as many people. I mean, we didn't send as many people with the World Herald and Lee Enterprises as we would have if we had driven. So a little bit, I guess, more intimate in that regard, but I thought it was productive. I thought it's just a reminder of how tough the league is, man. I mean, you hear all these coaches breaking down their off seasons, and it's so hard to find a gimme like you would have, when Nebraska joined the league. Like there were a handful of teams where you're like, yeah, they should beat those guys. And now it's just like, geez, everybody's got resources. Everybody has quality coaches. And I just thought this was another pretty strong in your face reminder of that.
How deep do you think the middle tier of the Big Ten is? And let's leave, because they were the playoff teams, let's leave the top 3 of Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. Let's leave them up there. But the middle tier right now in the Big Ten, how deep do you think it goes?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, like you said, your top 3 probably are separated on the top end. You probably have your bottom 3 or 4 on the bottom end, your Northwestern, Purdue, maybe another team or 2 that falls in there. But yeah, I mean, you're probably talking like a 10 to 12 team middle class. I mean, it's massive. And we saw it play out in the standings last year too. I think it was 12 teams within 3 games of each other in the Big Ten standings. Like you talk about margin for error, like a turnover here, a blocked kick there, or a missed opportunity in the fourth quarter or whatever. Like that's going to swing games and seasons, and it totally how you look back on how a team did the year before. So yeah, I mean, it's massive. I think it's a reminder for Nebraska that some of its best or most pivotal games are going to come against teams like that. Like if you're in the big neighborhood, how do you separate yourself into upper middle class versus lower middle class? I mean, you're talking the USC game and the Minnesota game. The Michigan to me is kind of a team almost in its own tier right now. Like you've got the top 3, and you've got Michigan, which obviously has the tradition. It had a down year last year. It's kind of harder to know what to make of those guys. So it's almost like they're kind of in that upper middle class by themselves at this moment in time. We'll see how it plays out. But I think that's just kind of what it comes down to for Nebraska. Obviously, the Penn State game will be one where they're going to be big underdogs, but there are going to be a ton of games this year where they're going to be within touchdown favorites or underdogs, 7 points one way or the other. It's going to come down to a play here or there, and kind of reminiscent of the NFL, right?
Yep.
Like you have those noon kickoffs, and you get to 3:00, and you can switch over to 3 or 4 different games, and it comes down to a final drive. Like it kind of feels like that's what Nebraska is going to be and what the Big Ten is going to be.
Hey, there's and you and Sam and the rest of the crew of the World Herald done a good job of leading up to the start of camp. Position battles, players to watch. It's not necessarily a position battle, and there aren't very many. There's maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 frontline jobs that are open. Running back is not one we're worried about. That's Emmett Johnson, and you would think he's ready to take the next jump with the way that Dana uses him. But what fascinates you the most about the guys that are behind Emmett Johnson in trying to be the next up at running back?
I mean, the immediate fascination's got to be Isaiah Mosey making that switch. I thought what Matt Rule said in Vegas about that was interesting, in that was Mosey's idea. Like he came to the coaches and said, "I'd like to be a running back," and we'll have to talk to him at some point about kind of what went into that motivation. I mean, sometimes guys make that move because they feel like that's their best chance at the next level. Like if you're going to be an NFL player, like this is where you should be. And then sometimes they make the move because they feel like that's where they can get on the field quicker and make an impact. And maybe he surveyed the terrain at that position group and said, yeah, behind Emmett Johnson, you've got a bunch of guys who the coaching staff likes, but haven't proven it or had much of a track record on the field. So that's fascinating to me. Like that's an example of a guy who, in like 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to be talking to Matt Rule or Dana Holgerson and ask, how's he doing? Like, is he someone who's able to make that move and to be in that number 2 conversation? At some point, they're going to have to figure out who that next guy is to fill the Dante Dowdell role, that short yardage back, 3rd and short, or you're in the red zone and you need a tough yard or two. I mean, Dowdell was really good at that, and that's why he got paid to go to Kentucky. So Ives was that guy, Quentin Ives, in the spring. Is that still the case? Has that changed in any regard? What does that look like? Mekhi Nelson, the staff is like, he was somewhat limited in the spring as well. Jamarian Parker, true freshman who comes in, has some home run ability to how he carries the ball, and Connor Booth too. Yeah. Like I've just heard consistently for well over a year now, like this is a guy who belongs, who can make a difference, and he was limited with injury in the spring as well. So it's very much a position like beyond Emmett Johnson, and Emmett can improve and adjust and evolve in different ways too. But beyond him, yeah, it's a really fascinating group with a lot of guys that maybe we haven't seen on game day, and they're going to have a month here to show what they can do behind the scenes.
So you brought up, and I'm on the Mekhi Nelson bandwagon. I think he might be the best all around real running back in that room, and I would put him in that category ahead of Emmett, even though Emmett is the number 1. But I think that gap will be closer, but still Emmett being number 1. So I like Nelson. You brought up Evan, Jamarian Parker, who was a big pickup out of St. Louis, and he was an early enrollee, and we saw him more on the sidelines than actually going through drills. How important is it that you hear something about him in the next month?
Yeah, I think you need to hear maybe he popped a play, or at the very least, you need to hear that he's feeling good and moving around and doing what he did. Like his story, he missed a year in high school in St. Louis because of the death of someone close to him, and that set him back in terms of his football development, at least. And he gets to campus early and was on the sideline, I think, just getting his body right in a lot of ways. And so you've had the off season, you've had the summer, he's been able to acclimate. Yeah, I think you need to hear something. He's looking good, he's making plays, whatever, at the very least to be healthy. And as Matt Rule reminded in Vegas last week, like most teams are going to get to the point, especially with the schedule, the way that it sets up, with 9 conference games and everything, that you're going to need probably your number 2, your number 3, maybe your number 4 running back. Like it's not a ridiculous notion to think that you get to November and Nebraska might need a few meaningful carries from a guy like that. It's people aren't maybe conditioned as much to think about true freshman running backs, but man, I mean, you look around college football every year, that's a position group where somebody as a freshman is able to break out. Like, it's just kind of the nature of the position. A lot of times your athleticism can take over and you can be a real spark for the offense. Nebraska hasn't had a guy like that in a number of years. And in fact, usually at this time of year, the running back conversation is coaches begging somebody to emerge and be that number one. And finally, they have that in Emmett Johnson. But yes, I think with how early they identified Parker, with some of the other offers that he had, with his ability to take a carry and maybe break loose for 70 yards instead of falling over after 5 or 6, like, that's, to me, like his skill set, at least at what we saw on tape. And if that can begin to translate to the college level, even behind the scenes, it'd be an important, I think, notable development.
Hey, if you're listing reasons for optimism on this upcoming season, how close to the top is the fact that offensive line has 4 of the 5 starters pretty much set before practice begins?
Yeah, I mean, as you started to ask that question, that's the first place my mind went, is the offensive line. And not just the experience, and they certainly have that, but the fact that they could legitimately go 10 deep and have not much of a drop-off, at least in terms of experience. I mean, you're talking Teddy Prohaska's full go. He's been a multi-year starter, and he's not even at this exact moment probably in the starting group. Like, that's how quality this thing is right now. I mean, you love Justin Evans at center and what he's able to do. You have your 2 transfer additions who have been, to this point, rock solid and trending toward being surefire starters. It's kind of that next group. I mean, Gunnar Gatula, the same way. He started most of the year last year, was very good, and he's going to be in a battle with Tyler Knack at right tackle. And that's to say nothing. Like, a year from now, we're going to be talking about a line change with this next wave of guys, with Grant Bricks and Preston Tamua and Gibson Pyle. And so it's in a fantastic spot right now. It really is, where maybe there aren't 5 guys that like are head and shoulders above the rest, but I think that could be a good thing in terms of the depth. And how long has it been since Nebraska's had a line where you could rotate 7 or 8 guys fairly seamlessly? I think that's kind of where they are right now. It's in a really good spot for sure.
Any concern about wide receiver past the top 3?
I mean, I think that's something that we'll start to see play out over the next month too. I mean, you feel good about Corey Barney coming back and Dane Key and his track record, and Isaiah Hunter. I think that next group has a ton of potential. Cortez Mills is still someone who Dana Holgerson said explicitly in the spring, this is a guy who's going to play. I mean, Quinn Clark was someone who took strides. Keelan Smith, someone they invested in. You lose Carter Nelson as he shifts over to tight end, I suppose, technically. But it seems like that's a deeper position than it was. I think certainly at the top end, it can be an improvement. I mean, I just keep going back to Dane Key and his film at Kentucky last year, where he's making contested catches all over SEC secondaries, and he just finds a way to get open. Like, it feels like, to me, Nebraska, we were talking about this, Sam and I, the other day, where it kind of feels like this collection of guys, maybe their ability to high point balls and win 50-50 battles is about as good as Nebraska's had in a number of years. And so, like, how important is that oftentimes in the red zone when you need a guy to just go up and make a play, or it's third and intermediate and you throw a ball over the middle and know that your guy is either going to catch it or knock it down. Like, it kind of feels like that's one of the traits that this group has that they haven't in a while. So yeah, I think there's potential for depth. Again, sort of kind of reminiscent a little bit maybe of the running back group, where you feel good about the top group and you kind of want to see how that next wave of guys acclimates and performs in the next month. But certainly it's deeper maybe than it's been in the past, and we'll see how much that translates here over the next month.
It is here. Evan, as always, we appreciate it. Look forward to your observations after watching practice this week, and always thankful, my friend.
Appreciate you, Gary. Thanks. Yep. Bye.
That's Evan Bland from the Omaha World Herald. Again, practice has started in Lincoln. Media will be able to watch a little bit of practice later this morning. So there'll be some observations on what is going on, who's out there, who looks different, who is back, who is not on the sidelines and is practicing. We'll get an update on Turner Corcoran, but it'll be good to see Big Teddy out there. Teddy could be the backup at both tackle spots, or he could push to be the starting tackle opposite of Pritchett. We'll we'll touch on some of the other things about the offensive line because there are two guys, I think this whole year, which is all about winning. I mean, it's no longer about, okay, this is what our culture is. All right, let's defend the culture. Now it's about winning. Two guys on the offensive line could have a big part in winning along with their talent. But when we come back, today in Boulder will be kind of interesting. If you've been following along, Deion Sanders has not been around his team all offseason since spring camp. He's been dealing with some health issues. They are holding a press conference today in Boulder. It's not just Deion. It is his medical team. He returned to campus yesterday. He got in front of his team, appeared to be back to normal. But we'll find out what the future of Deion Sanders at Colorado holds coming up later today. We'll discuss when you return. It's Gary and Matt with Jake in for Jimmy today on 1620 The Zone. All right, last hour of Gary and Matt on a Monday on the opening of camp. 1 month from today, Nebraska, Cincinnati, Arrowhead Stadium. Dillon against Sorsby. 6.5-point favorite. Choose your fighter. I searched for this yesterday after the viral video of Nikola Jokic. As he celebrated his horse winning, he was in tears. Could not find it. If you see the viral video, please don't immediately say, well, he enjoys his horses more than he enjoys the NBA. It had a. Did you see the video?
I did not see the video.
So, he's back home and he's big into horses. And it is not the regular race horses. It is, it's not harness. Is it harness racing? Is that what they call it?
I think you're right.
Okay.
I think it is harness racing.
It's whatever the races are that the Hamiltonian. So that's his game. And he owns horses, and we know the famous viral clip of after the Nuggets won the NBA championship, what he said about his horses in a race back home. So yesterday, this clip gets out as he's watching his horse with the jockey, and they win this particular race, and he's overcome with emotion, like he is crying, and he takes one step over the short fence in the infield and is onto the track to go celebrate with the jockey and his horse. He's crying.
Oh, yeah.
This couldn't have been like a normal race. This had to be some gigantic stakes race. It did not look like other people were celebrating, but his celebration, he loves horses.
He does.
He also loves playing basketball, okay? Sometimes you express it a little bit differently. He's a horseman and an NBA man. But this had to be a big race.
Oh, it had to be. Because I just pulled it up now.
Or the horse sucks, and it was like, for its lifetime.
Won.
And all of a sudden, they won.
I know, I pulled the video now. Yeah, he is very emotional. I didn't even think he looked this emotional after his first finals win. He's going out, running out there, giving hugs. I know I shouldn't do it.
People are like, it's true. The whole narrative on Joker is true.
I am putting up the narrative, but he just looks so emotional for it. Like, I'm wondering, is it against the rules to bet against your own horse? I bet on your own horse? Because technically, he's not the one riding it. I'm not trying to put allegations out here on Jokic, but what if he put a little money on his horse to win? Could that add to the tears? I know he has enough money, but
it had to be some like super stakes race.
Yes, had to be.
Okay. The Matt is out for vacation this week, and he picked an appropriate time because this would be the time of the program that I would ask him about what happened with the Chicago Bulls yesterday. Billy Donovan got an extension as the head coach of the Bulls, and he is 20 games, I believe, under 500 in his career. No, he's 10 games under 500 in his career. He has only been to the regular playoffs one time in 6 years. 3 straight years they have been in the play-in game. But Billy Donovan got an extension yesterday. Would you like to guess, Jake? And Billy Donovan in the postseason, 1-4.
Ooh.
Would you like to guess which two head coaches recently, I will take Jim Boylan out of the mix, have a better playoff record with the Chicago Bulls than Billy Donovan? Billy Donovan, again, 1-4 in the postseason.
Will it be Thibodeau? Because Thibodeau's there for...
Yes.
So Thibodeau's one of them.
Yep. Well, so there's 3.
Oh, there's 3.
Well,
okay.
Actually, you could make a case the last stop with Phil Jackson, the last 4 head coaches have a better playoff record than Billy Donovan. Let's take Scott Skiles and Thibodeau out of this. The other 2 guys.
Does Fred have a? Fred does.
Fred Hoiberg has a better
crazy.
playoff record than Billy Donovan. Fred was 2-4 in his 6 playoff games.
That's
Vinny
wild.
Del Negro has the same playoff percentage as Fred. They both 33.3%. Vinny Del Negro was 4-8. Fred Hoiberg was 2-4. Billy Donovan is currently 1-4.
That's crazy to think.
This would have been a great conversation.
Yeah, no, it would have been.
Somebody's missing this morning.
But I mean, that's crazy because it just seemed like the whole time the Bulls had Fred Hoiberg as a head coach, it really fell apart. And with Billy Donovan, there seems like there's been some hope there. And it's crazy to think that he's still not as good as Fred Hoiberg, technically, as his whole career as a Bulls.
So
he's better, but
so Hoiberg was 115 and 155.
yeah.
Donovan is currently 195 and 205. Vinny Del Negro was straight 500. He was 82 and 82.
Dang. Crazy to think about. I am kind of surprised they gave Billy Donovan an extension overall. I assume most Bulls fans are a little bit.
Hey, you have to put up with a dysfunctional front office. Here you go for your pain and suffering. Used to think Billy Donovan would make his way back to college.
Ooh.
I think the days of Billy Donovan and Brad Stevens coming back to college are done.
Oh, they're definitely over. They've had at least some success in the NBA. And you can't say that about a lot of college coaches go into a professional. You can't say that a lot. And they've at least had some, which is better than most, I would say.
If like a school like Indiana could not pursue or draw in a Billy Donovan or a Brad Stevens, then it's not going to happen and they're going to stay in the NBA. But Billy Donovan's been the head coach of the Bulls since 2020. And, prior to that, almost you get further and further away of he won back-to-back national championships at Florida. And Brad Stevens, you are now probably immediately think, former Celtics coach before you think of the guy that ran Butler.
Yep. Yeah, brought Butler to back-to-back national championships, but luckily couldn't get the one. I still wish they beat Duke that year. I mean, awesome.
Look at how college basketball would have changed if Hayward's shot would have gone in.
Oh, would have been. Ooh, that's a good thing to think about. I don't know.
If Hayward hits that shot, what that does to the sport of college basketball.
I think it would just definitely change a lot. Definitely different viewership on mid-majors overall. And who knows, maybe the whole crazy thing with the Big East, that could have maybe came earlier, stuff like that. Stuff going to major conferences.
I want to go back to something that Evan Bland said in the last hour. Earlier this morning, Dari Nowa was with us from the SEC Network. Good chat on not just the SEC. He touched on the relationship between Sankey and Petiti. That's up on the radio replay page. But we were talking about the backup running back. So there's a couple of positions on this roster where if the starter goes down, you go, uh-oh. QB1 is number one. I mean, that's in case of break glass. And I would like to hear over the next 4 weeks, this would be where an exhibition game would be fantastic.
Yes.
Because you could play the main guy for just a series or two, and then you got 3 guys that you could play and let them get a little bit of a lather up before they sit around and go, boy, Akron, who is not eligible for a bowl game because they don't know how to do school, I hope we get to play in that game. Or the following week, you get to play against Houston Christian. And then after that, maybe 1 or 2 other games that you could possibly go, okay, we'll be able to get our backup in. But the battle for the backup quarterback will be very interesting because I think you'd like to redshirt Latif.
Definitely.
You'd like to string out the eligibility. And Dana Holgorsen, first of all, I don't think you look at the quarterback room at Nebraska. This is not like Adrian Martinez to Bunch. Okay? So if Adrian goes down, you go, uh-oh, we're screwed. First of all, the offensive game plan is a little bit simpler. So you don't have to pare down the playbook for a new quarterback. Ideally, you want your number one guy. He's your guy. He's there for another 13 games. But let's don't kid ourselves. We rubbed the Buddha and the monkey something that Dylan Raiola played all 13 games last year, first time since Tanner Lee did in 17 as a starting quarterback. You would hope that continues this year. But we're not naive to believe that there might be one game, either during the course of the game. I mean, you don't have Harburg to fall back on if you get, injured against UCLA in the middle of the game. And yet you maybe have to miss a snap or 2 or a series. So for a scenario like that, or you miss a game during the course of the season, that things just don't fall apart. That okay, now the offense has one arm tied behind its back. I think Holgorsen looks at, and Nebraska's turning in the right direction with the quarterback rooms. If you look at their high school recruiting, You don't go out and get a guy that you recruited while you were at Houston that is a highly acclaimed high school quarterback in Davila and say, you know what, he's just for show. He's just for a guy to take up the room. You would hope that guy, now that we're into fall camp, is like, no, number 2 is my job. And the Human Victory cigar, which is a good story, he's inched towards being a coach than being your backup quarterback. So I hope we get some discussion about the backup quarterback. But the backup running back spot is one to watch. I think Emmett and a Dana Holgorsen offense, if we go off of their relationship beginning with the USC game and through the course of the season, you can see what this can be. 20 touches a game, maybe 15 carries, 5 receptions, but 21 will be utilized a lot. I even think the unpredictability that Nebraska doesn't have a guy that looks like Dowdell, the unpredictability of third and short, why can't it be Emmett? Why does it always have to be pounded into the line of scrimmage on third and short? That's the unpredictability of this offense. So another full season, I think Dana gets Emmett to where he wants to go, and that's to play in the NFL. But is it the development of Emmett Johnson being a running back, or is it the fact that you have an OC that looks at the skill set and takes that to a whole nother level? My big thing this year, and this is kind of make Nebraska running backs matter again, is real running backs. I see a lot of Mosey, and I immediately think of how Holgorsen is going to use him, and I think of Tavon Austin. I know this comparison has been made numerous times. Nebraska's offense isn't the air raid offense that Holgorsen ran at West Virginia when him and Tavon Austin were together, 09 to 12. But Tavon Austin, who was more of a wide receiver, also dabbled as a running back. I could see Mosey doing both, where they utilize him out of the backfield as a wide receiver, maybe as a H-back wide receiver, but also could run the football when needed. If you remember, one of the best games by far that Tavon Austin ever played was against Oklahoma. 572 all-purpose yards. Now, Tavon Austin is a former winner of the Jet Award, so he could also return kicks. So he was an integral part of that West Virginia offense. But that night that he set that record against Oklahoma, he had 344 rushing yards. If Mosey did that, well, then we would have a conversation. I don't expect that, but I could see him being used like that. So I don't look him as a quote-unquote real running back. That's why I'm pushing my chips to Mekhi Nelson, who, in terms of all-around ability of everything that you want out of a running back, and I know he is not the big bruising running back, but don't just look at his measurables and go, well, he seems to be a little bit undersized for a running back, because he's 6'1", 195. He doesn't run like he's 6'1", 195. He plays a little bit bigger than his size. I think he'll be the number 2 running back a month from today. And I think that gap between Emmett in the past, Emmett and the backup running back, let's put Emmett and Dowdell together, but the co-ones last year to the number 3 guy was pretty large. I don't think the 1 to 2 gap at running back will be as large. But then let's bring E.J. Barthel into this. And making Nebraska running backs matter. They invested in Parker. They went and got Booth, who is very intriguing. Vincent Genatone, the incredible athlete from North Platte, who transferred from Montana, I think will be Mike Eckler's best friend. I think Genatone, who is now listed as a running back, won't be in the regular rotation, but he's going to play some important football this year, and I think he is a huge asset on special teams. He's a great athlete. I mean, he not only a football player, but he's a track star at North Platte. But this room needs to start developing real running backs, like running backs that are not converted wide receivers, running backs that are real running backs, that know how to run like running backs, that know how to play with their pads, know how to read blocking schemes, all of those things, because the development of running backs needs to improve. And this would be the year to do it, because another guy, and a couple of you are with me on the stream and on email, is I think Ives is going to be squeezed out. I think we've heard enough about Ives, that I've seen enough that nice asset in your room, but is he good enough to be the number 2 and holds people off? And it's no, hey, he's the guy, no problem. I mean, it's go time. He got a month. He's been in the program for a while. It's not like he just showed up. And we've been hearing about that he can do this and this. And I know he's a little bit different being 6'3" as a running back. Well, it's go time now. It's go time. But the guy to watch, and this again, Evan laid out the story of his backstory out of high school. We clamor so much to go into St. Louis and eat Emo's Pizza and go to Ted's Custard and boo the Cardinals, which is pretty easy to do right now. And also grab a prospect. How many staffs at Nebraska have we said, St. Louis is your home? Where's the next Kenny Wilhite? Go get that guy. Well, Nebraska goes, and this was a really, really good pickup in Parker at running back. But he didn't. He was dinged up. I think he was out of shape. Then they kind of redid his body a little bit. There's a guy in the next month that I would like to hear a couple of things about. That, hey, now we understand what it's like to play football in college and everything that goes into it. And he's on the right track. Because Nebraska, in my opinion, needs to develop running backs, real running backs, not converted wide receivers that have played running back in high school and say, hey, I'd like to go play running back. Because I see Mosey more as a run it, but is going to catch in the Tavon Austin mode. But my money's on Nelson to be the backup running back. And I think his skill set will start to shine as he gets more run. Emmett's going to get his. Emmett's probably staring at 20 touches a game. But Mekhi Nelson, if they broke camp in a month from now, that if middle of the second quarter they give Emmett Johnson a breather and 35 is lined up in the backfield, I would not be surprised at all. At all. All right, when we come back, some thoughts on what may happen in Boulder today. Again, Deion Sanders is back at Colorado. They are ready to start practice. Year number 3. He has not been around his team all summer. He has been back at his house in Texas. Physically, he's not been around his team. He's been back at his house in Texas dealing with a health issue. He's in Boulder. His medical team and Deion Sanders will hold a press conference today. What does that mean? Let's discuss when we come back. It's Gary and Matt with Jake on 1620 The Zone. I don't know when Baylor starts camp. I imagine it's here in the next couple of days. So Dave Aranda will be in front of the Waco media, the current Baylor coach, who at one time was mentioned as a candidate for the Nebraska job and then had a really rough year, got on the hot seat. All of a sudden, they got off the hot seat. Baylor was much better last year. They have a really good quarterback in Sawyer Robertson, and they're not projected to be near the bottom of the Big 12 conference. But Dave Aranda, have you ever met somebody, Jake, where you could say, you know what, they're kind of an endearing, weird person?
Yes.
That is, once you get into a conversation with them, that they are super smart. And they probably overthink things because they got a big brain and they look at things completely different than the average Joe and Jane. You got anybody you know?
Yes, I do.
Dave Aranda, to me, is that. And so we had a little thing, and this is probably in all the discussion about, are we going to play 9? Are we going to have 16? Are we going to have 4, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1? Or do polls matter at all? We probably needed a little Dave Aranda at the Texas High School Coaches Association convention the end of last week. If you and I don't know that we can play the clip.
Yeah, I mean,
we're only allowed one of those things a month, and I've already taken our quota. He got into a discussion about team and team building and being there and recruiting, and it went a bunch of different places. It included midgets.
Yep.
The Wolf of Wall Street. I think the more I watch this, and again, I think he is clearly smart. And you listen to his press conferences, he really thinks things out and probably is an overthinker. But he takes you on a dive on how he looks at the world of culture, football, all of those things. I think watching this, he had a poorly put together analogy. And we've done this. I've done it. People that watch us on the stream, when you start talking publicly and you've got people watching, and once you start talking that you've gone to a place that you can't get out of. And then while you're talking and everybody is watching you and kind of, oh my God, what's going on? You have to find a way to scoot back out. That's kind of what this was when I was watching the clip, the viral clip of about a minute that was shared, that yes, he put midgets and Wolf of Wall Street together. Just a, I think, a poor analogy. I kind of got it, but I'm surprised that he's not trending.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw him trending after it. I mean, yeah, I think he was trying to back out of it because I think if I remember in the clip, he kind of he says midgets about 3 times total in that minute, towards the end especially. So he was trying to back it up, but I don't know if it worked out. And most of the reaction on Twitter X was, what in the world is he talking about?
But that's him. If you look at a regular season press conference, a couple of years before, after Scott got fired and Rule got hired, we were all trying to connect dots and thinking, all right, who would be good here? A lot of us honed in on Dave Aranda. Good football coach. Boy, he checks all the boxes of a guy that Trev would like. Program builder. And so we started to watch more of his press conferences. And that is a normal press conference. He is a deep, deep thinker. He is, I think you have to go there with him to understand what he's saying. But his team clearly, people like playing for him. But that one was poor analogy. And then we've been there, Dave. Coach, you got nobody to yank you off stage, and you got to find a way to get out of it. Today in Boulder, and I'm not sure. I'm trying to find a time on this. Deion Sanders will meet with the media in Boulder. He has been away due to health concerns. So today he will, as practice begins at CU, he will hold a press conference with his medical team. It's kind of unknown the battle, what issue that is going on. I don't think, texted a couple of people that we know that have been on the show that cover Colorado. Is this what we think it is? And most of them have said, no, I believe it is just to provide general of what he's gone through. Now he's back, and to give some team updates. They don't believe that this is a goodbye for Deion. I give him credit for the transparency. So, and he yesterday went on social media and said back feeling great, and they shared video of him being in front of his team. I do give him credit for transparency. He doesn't owe us. The only people he owes about his health situation is his boss and his team.
Yep. He
doesn't owe us anything about, hey, what's going on? Because it sounds like it's blood clots. And he's battled this before. And this is the second time in his time at Colorado that he has had a health scare. But I do appreciate that he's bringing his medical team. So there's some transparency. So when he starts to explain what he's going through, it's not just Deion saying this. It's actual doctors that probably have worked with him, I imagine from the CU Medical Center or down in Texas where he has been away from the team, is that they will be able to answer some of those questions. But the bigger part of Deion coming back, and I didn't think once his son and Travis Hunter were gone, his sons and Travis Hunter was gone, that he would come back and coach at Colorado. He has never coached football without his kids. I mean, Pop Warner football, all the way through 7-on-7 in Southwest Florida. He has always coached his kids, Jackson State to Colorado. And I thought this would be the time. He'd do 2 years and then he'd be gone. But he signed a 5-year, $54 million contract. He went hard into the portal. They became the ultimate wild card again because they have a bunch of new faces and you have no idea what's going to happen. But yet in 2025, we'll dabble a little bit. He still has an appeal. We'll watch. TV ratings will probably be solid for the Georgia Tech-Colorado game, which kicks off on that Friday, a month and a day from now. But is Colorado going from 1 win to 9? Are they going to go back to middle of the pack? Because there's not a lot of people in the Big 12 that think highly of them. So I was surprised that he came back. And then you put in his health issues. And maybe he's just, maybe he's the figurehead of Colorado football and he's got a staff that does a lot of the work. That's fine. And they've had to do a lot of work in the offseason with him not being around his team. Because imagine your coach just showed up. He just walked in the door, yesterday, and you start practice and you haven't seen him for a couple of months. Now, I'm sure they've been on Zoom or whatever. But tie this into something else that happened over the weekend, or actually Friday or Saturday. Bill Self, basketball coach at KU. For the second time in, 3 years, he has had a health scare. And he went to the hospital in Lawrence and had 2 stents put in. Bill Self is not mid-40s. Deion is not mid-40s. Both of these guys have had, as you get older, they have health issues. We get old, Jake. We get old. We have health issues. All right? My body creaks a little bit more. Okay? Knock on wood, nothing serious. Hopefully that continues. But I know if you're a competitor and that's what you do for a living and you're around it and you love being around your team and the people in the sport, at some point you have to say, or someone has to say to you, I don't know if this is worth it. I don't know what it's doing to your health or any concerns getting in the way of doing your job, that you say, you know what, I've had a great career, and both of them have. I mean, Bill Self is Hall of Famer. Deion is a Hall of Famer. I don't know that these 2 jobs define them. I think they'd be fine in retirement. But at some point you go, or somebody says to you, Coach, I don't know. I don't know what it's doing to your health. Do you want that day when you're on the sidelines? I mean, we watched a basketball coach at Nebraska 5 years ago, who was sick on the bench, and we were like majorly concerned. We've seen a player die on the floor in front of us. We don't need to see a coach. And it's not easy to say, I'm just going to give it up. I mean, I don't think Deion would go out this way. But if you're also Colorado, and I think KU is in the same position, and KU basketball is on a much different level than Colorado football is. Do you have a plan? Like, what is KU's plan? Like, do they have an interim? If Bill Self came into the office today and said, man, I'm just not feeling it, that's it for me. And they have a press conference and Bill Self all of a sudden retires. Now we're just doing a little hypothetical here. Does KU have a plan? I don't see Joe Dooley being the guy that's going to take over. I don't see Doc Sadler in the interim taking over. They did add Jock Vaughn, who's got, of course, played at KU, has got NBA experience, and now is an assistant coach. But does KU have a plan after Self? Does that include Ben McCollum? He goes to Iowa and does really, really well, and they say, would you like to come to Lawrence? But with Colorado, it's even a bigger one because the head coach is so much bigger than the program. If Deion Sanders isn't the head coach at Colorado, what is Colorado football? Is Colorado football like it was before Deion got there?
Yep.
There's no buzz. The TV ratings are, The appeal of Colorado is, man, do I want to take over because what's going to happen to that roster? Or do you say, okay, now we can get back to trying to be a real program, and we've got to make a hire that, is really, really good, and we can't just keep recycling coaches. I would think at Colorado, they've already thought that through. But I don't think it's a goodbye today. I think it's a update. But this is the second health scare for Deion Sanders in the last couple of years. And he'll have a press conference later today. Yeah. Again, I appreciate the transparency. Have your medical team there with you.
So you don't see that a lot where they're bringing out their medical team like that to have that transparency.
Well, do you think it's possibly this? He knows that people will speculate, hey, this is your way to get out of the contract.
That's a good point.
And get out of being a head coach at Colorado. And he says, no.
Yeah.
So let's have my doctors here, and then they can explain what I'm going through. And then you can make your own judgment of, is it worth it to do what you have to do if blood clots are still a thing and still be able to coach, be able to stand up on the sideline. I mean, he jokingly said, last week that it was at Big 12 Media Days when he was there in person, that he thought about a Hugh Freeze thing, where Hugh Freeze was in the hospital bed and he was up in the press box.
Yep. I mean, when does it get to a point, because you're talking about like when calling it quits with his health, would you say when it starts to affect the team a bit and how they play? Is that when it's kind of time for the coach to be like, okay, maybe it's my time?
I think when you just...
It's when you personally feel like I can't do this anymore. I'm not... Because I'm wondering from like a team's perspective, with him not being there almost a lot of the summer, and then him coming in now, if maybe he has to take another... like to go away for a little bit in the middle of the season. Is that where it's kind of...
Well, I think that's when you say...
tougher.
Yeah, I think I don't think he'd be able to do that if he had to leave his team in the middle of the season. I think that's when you would say, okay, let's step aside. Let's do it for health reasons. It's okay. I mean, no one's going to fault you. And you let somebody else take over the program, because he does care about the people that are in the program. Like whether they're his coaches or, most importantly, all of those players. So this is coming up, I believe, this afternoon in Boulder.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just sports at the end of the day. Like, you got to take your health and your personal self. I know how big football is.
Yeah, but you know this. I mean, like, it's basically trying to, when your parents get a little bit older and you got to take the keys away from them.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking their livelihood away.
Mm-hmm.
But who is that person that says, hey, Dad or husband or coach, um, you know, the program will move on. It's not like, if you leave, the program is going to, shut the doors. But I can't have the fear of, you going down on the sidelines.
Yeah, don't want that at all. And obviously Deion, he loves football, has a lot of compassion for it. And I mean, if it is the time that if he has to maybe step down coaching due to his health at some point in these next few years, I mean, it was a lot of fun having Deion as Colorado. As much as Nebraska fans might not like Colorado, Deion, it was fun.
It's been
Deion is
good
fun
for
to be
college
around.
football.
Yeah, been good for
It
college
has been
football.
immensely favorable for Colorado. They've gotten everything they wanted out of hiring him as a coach. Donations are up, applications are up, season tickets are up. All of the financial part, they have gotten more than the return on investment. They had to give up some things with him as the head coach that maybe 5 years down the road they regret when they look at a couple of numbers that are retired or one number that is retired and you wonder, hey, is that Deion Figures? No, that's Shadur Sanders. No, Colorado has gotten everything back. Now, he has been great. See, I think he has more of an impact on college football than Bill Belichick.
Oh, 100%.
People are what's the if I tell you that his girlfriend won't be on the sidelines, why are you watching North Carolina?
I mean, it is to watch Bill Belichick, but there's never going to be as much hype as Deion had when he first stepped into Colorado. And it seems like North Carolina, I think there was rumors they were trying to replicate that, hopefully, with their ratings. And I just don't think we're really going to see something like that again with Deion at Colorado, with how much hype.
Well, the other part of this question, I agree with you. The
Yeah.
other part of this question about Colorado is Colorado a big deal without 2-12 plan? They still have the head coach, but they didn't have an ISO on Deion the entire game. I liked watching 2-12 play. Are you still going to watch Colorado without 2-12 out on the field? I think their Georgia Tech game played on a Friday night, and that's an interesting opener. I think it will do well in the TV ratings because there still will be okay, let's see Deion. Let's see what celebrities. Hell, they have Marshall Faulk on the sidelines as well. I mean, they have a celebrity coaching staff. But without 2-12, am I going to watch Colorado? Nebraska's not playing them this year. Will I watch more than a passing glance at Colorado?
I don't know. It's definitely going to be tough. They're not going to get as much viewership as they have, but we'll see how they do against Georgia Tech. That will really set the present for the rest of the season to see who is this team without those two players.
They'll get there, and they play at Houston, I think week 3. Usually the first 2 years, 9 games that Colorado has played in the last 2 years on TV have been in the top 50 in terms of television ratings. And 7 of those 9 have been games that have been played in the first month. So people tune in and then it kind of goes away. Now, the first year, there was a lot of okay, let's watch. And then you realize they were bad and you might have hate watched. Last year, they were better and you might have watched a little bit longer. But Colorado's the team right now that you'll watch in the first month. And then you're like, okay, I'm on to other things. I want to watch teams that are battling to get into the playoff. All right, quick break. Come back. Crossovers coming up at the top of the hour. There will be eyeballs on practice today. There'll also be media availability. The head coach will talk after practice today. Day number 1 in Lincoln, all 125 on the roster get to go to camp. We'll see if all 125 practiced today. And that's coming up a little bit later. But when we come back, we'll put some finishing touches on this show and get you ready for the Miz and Boyd. Not wrestling. It's Gary and Matt with Jake and 1620 The Zone. We have a suggestion for Dave Aranda. Sean is with me. What about a Dave Aranda, Deshaun Foster podcast? Head coach at UCLA. You been for that? Those two doing a podcast together?
That would be interesting. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Also today in Chicago, Big Ten Media Day for volleyball. Nebraska is the preseason favorite in Danny Busboom Kelly's first year. You know that Nebraska and Nebraska will have a considerable amount of media that will be at Media Day. Nebraska media. I mean, it's a great idea. The Big Ten has the best volleyball conference in America, and they promote the sport. They've grown the sport. And today is Media Day, which they didn't used to have. They didn't used to have a conference Media Day. But there will be plenty of Nebraska media that will be there. And you know how Nebraska volleyball coverage is changing? You got Jeff and Lincoln are doing the I-80 stuff. And you got Brent Wagner at the Journal-Star. Like, there are more people that are covering volleyball on a regular basis. Abby Barmore at Husker Online. I saw an article, I think it was in the Journal-Star, about volleyball recruiting for 2028.
Ooh.
The sport has arrived.
It has.
And I don't know if this will come up because she wasn't there, but the players that she's bringing are there. Did anybody, the loss to Penn State last year in the national semifinal just kind of got brushed aside?
I mean, it kind of got brushed aside, I think, because of just how the story with Penn State, with their coach and everything, it's a cool story. We'll kind of leave it at that, and Nebraska kind of focus on what the future takes for them.
I mean, it's can you have a successful season without winning the national championship?
Well, yes, and I feel like getting to the Final Four is successful.
And I do agree with you, but the manner in which they lost,
yes,
doesn't really get discussed. Like, that should have been a crusher.
Yeah, being up 2-0 and letting Penn State come back.
And it wasn't like John Cook the next day announced his retirement and a new coach was here. That was almost a month later that happened. But if you're in the junior class, you've had 2 years where you've come up short. Now they're loaded this year. I mean, they are in prime position to do what Nebraska does, and that is to get to the Final Four and potentially win a national championship. Big Ten Media Days for volleyball are today. Should not take away in Chicago. The Cubs and the Brewers open up a huge series in Milwaukee. The trade deadline is at 5 p.m. on Thursday, when Mackenzie Gore becomes a member of the Chicago Cubs and does not become a member of the Milwaukee Brewers, and Milwaukee decides to do nothing. But we have Matthew Boyd and Mizorowski are pitching tonight. So if you're looking for something to do, Cubs and the Brewers tonight, monster series. Both have the tied for the best record in baseball, tied for first place in the NL Central. Do what you will with that. But the trade deadline is coming up on Thursday. You know how I know this as a Cubs fan? This is a really, really good season, and won 2 out of 3 against the White Sox, but for the most part are playing 500 ball over the last 44, 45, 46 games. There is so much doom scrolling going on Cubs Twitter. Every baseball team is going to lose 40% of their games. So it's okay to drop a game here and there. It's not okay to drop many, many games. It's not okay to be the White Sox or the Rockies. But the doom scrolling shows to me, because every time the Cubs lose, like Friday night was not good. Amanga did not look good. Velocity was down. But it was, this team sucks. It was the doom scrolling. Every baseball team's going to lose 40% of their games. Okay? And I have gone through many years where nobody cares about the Cubs on July 28th. Okay? They're in a world of hurt. They're at the bottom of the Central. No one cares. At least people are kind of caring, but come on. We got to stop the doom scrolling.
It's just hard in a 162-game season to be mad.
Don't treat it like football.
You can't be mad. Yeah, you can't treat it like
a football season.
My dad is that way with the Royals. He'll watch every game and he'll get super mad, be upset. I'm like, Dad, such a long season. You can't hold that the rest of the day.
So your dad is not Rex Hudler?
No.
Well, Rex Hudler has never met a bad day.
Yep.
Never, ever met a bad day. And is probably very excited that Seth Lugo is going to remain a Royal. All right. Tomorrow, Caleb Henry will join us on the show. He'll be sitting in for Matt, who's away this week on vacation. Jake will be back, and we will have reaction to things that are seen and spoken in Lincoln. Like, will anybody recognize a particular defensive back? So I like that room. This shows you, and you will notice right away when you start seeing pictures, there are guys that bodies are considerably different. Like, it looks like Corey Campbell had a very good offseason, and that's great. Nebraska needs to get bigger, stronger, but most importantly, they need to get faster. I think the first 2 years, I think Nebraska in key positions that have to be some of your fastest guys happen to be some of your medium speed guys. That's changing. And whatever they have done in the offseason to work on the speed component, I'll give you an example. Caleb Benning in February, 4.69 40. And Caleb has never been fleet of foot. Like, if he went to camps, and he was playing basketball during the summer, so he didn't do a lot of camping where they do the measurables and they get you in the 40. Because if you looked at the position he played and you said, oh man, he's not fast enough, then I would say, let's go to Phelps Field on a Friday night and watch him play football. The football IQ, when the football starts, you don't even worry about the speed. He's in the right place at the right time. But 4.69 for playing safety isn't going to jump off the page at you. This is whatever they're doing, and I don't think it's just a Caleb thing, is he was timed in the 40 on their final testing, which there's a push. I think there's a push to have some of the stuff released, like numbers released publicly, not privately, when they end up on an Instagram picture. Caleb went from a 4.69 40 in February before they got deep into spring ball. They got him at 4.48.
That's a
on
jump.
Thursday.
Very good jump.
That's a monster jump. He's not alone. Count me intrigued. I'd like to learn more about who else has made big jumps in running a 40. 40 is not the end-all, be-all when it comes to football, but it does tell you something.
But those jumps like that shows you that they're doing a focus on getting faster.
But Lobb has never been a big 40 guy. Now they clocked him at 4.48. Come on, man. We'll do all of that tomorrow when we reconvene at 6. Sergeant Holka's big toe. Rockies fan. He's ready to admit it. I don't know, I admitted after the game in Baltimore the other night. When you're already 30 games out in June, go get me a draft pick. Stop winning. Tank right now.
There you go.
Well, they did trade the third baseman to the Yankees. Trade deadline is 5 p.m. on Thursday. Mackenzie Gore would look great in a Cubs uniform. Mackenzie Gore would look great starting the first game of the playoffs. And then you can give it over to Matthew Boyd. Because as it stands right now, if the playoff teams are the playoff teams, I would say the Cubs probably have the worst or next to worst top 3 in terms of starting pitching. That's tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at 6. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Crossover with Connor Happer is coming up next on 1620 The Zone.